I would like to go ahead and, you good? Okay, just checking. This meeting of the Yuba City Council for July 20th, 2021 to order. The governor has declared a state of emergency to exist in California as a result of the threat of COVID-19, while the governor recently issued executive orders N-7-07-21, which lifted certain orders and associated restrictions. There are still public health directives in place. Executive Order N-08-21 also allows local legislative bodies to continue to hold meetings via conference calls while still meeting state transparency requirements. The public's health and well-being are a top priority for the city of Yuba City, and you are urged to take all appropriate health and safety precautions. This meeting is utilizing Zoom. For this meeting, we'll be using questions and answers functionality of the tool in order to accommodate public comment. On your device, the question and answer section of the app is located at the bottom of your Zoom screen. For those that would like to comment during this meeting, please enter your comment into the question and answers portion of the app. Be sure to state the item you will be commenting on during the public comment of each item. Staff will read aloud the comments provided by the public for all to hear for that specific item. Can I have roll call, please?
Councilmember Espindola.
Here.
Councilmember Harris. Here. Councilmember Kirschner.
Here.
Vice Mayor Shaw.
Here.
Mayor Boomgarden.
Here. Closed session would ask that our city attorney read the closed session items A, B, and C.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have 3 items for closed session this item. Item A is conference with labor negotiators pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6. Agency designated representatives are Dave Vaughn, City Manager, Brad McIntyre, Community Services Director, Spencer Morrison, Finance Director, Diana Langley, Public Works Director, Michael Jarvis, LCW. The employee organizations are Yuba City Police Officers, Police Sergeants, Yuba City Fire Management, Police Sworn Min Managers, and Employee and public employees, local number 1. Item B is threats to public services or facilities pursuant to Government Code Section 54957, subsection A, consultation with city attorney and/or city fire chief, police chief, director of public works, IT managers, and city manager. And item C is conference with legal counsel, potential litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D1, one case.
Thank you, sir. Any comments from the public? I'm not seeing anybody there online.
No comments.
Off we go to closed session. Good evening, everybody. Had to have the mic on. Good to see a full house in here. So we're going to call this regular meeting of the Yuba City Council for July 20, 2021 to order. I have a couple of notices to read. The governor has declared a state of emergency to exist in California as a result of the threat of COVID-19. While the governor recently issued Executive Order N-07-21, which lifted certain orders and associated restrictions, there are still public health directives in place. Executive Order N-08-21 also allows local legislative bodies to continue to hold meetings via conference call while still meeting state transparency requirements. The public's health and well-being are a top priority for the city of Yuba City, and you are urged to take all appropriate health and safety precautions. How to participate in this virtual meeting. The meeting is utilizing the Zoom application for this live broadcast. For this meeting, we will be using the questions and answers functionality of this tool in order to accommodate public comment. On your device, the question and answer section of the app is located at the bottom of your Zoom screen. For those who would like to comment during this meeting, please enter your comment into the questions and answers portion of the app, and be sure to state the item you will be commenting on. During the public comment of each item, staff will read aloud the comments provided by the public for all to hear for that specific item. Please be timely with your questions, as once the public hearing is closed or the item has been discussed by the council and voted on, no more comments will be accepted for that item. May I have roll call, please?
Councilmember Espindola.
Here.
Councilmember Harris.
Here.
Councilmember Kirschner.
Here.
Vice Mayor Shaw.
Here.
Mayor Boomgarden.
Here. I would like to invite George Barlow. He'll be giving us our invocation/inspiration. And then if you wouldn't mind, I'd ask former Mayor John Miller to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. And he just looked at me. We'll start with the invocation.
Thank you. Let us pray. Dear Father in heaven, I lift up our prayers for our city council as they are committed to the quality of life for each resident of Yuba City. I pray for their tireless mission in that commitment. Father, I pray for our first responders, those who have committed their lives to our safety, those on the front lines as I speak, fighting fires in other jurisdictions. I pray for those policemen and policewomen who are working their beats day in and day out. I pray for your hedge of protection over them. I pray for this great city as we prepare for the future. It is in your precious and holy name I pray. Amen.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Barlow and Mr. Miller. At this time, I'd like to have the city attorney's report on our closed session items.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There was no reportable action taken in closed session.
Thank you, Mr. City Attorney. Any agenda modifications?
Through the mayor, we'd like to
Yes.
pull item 10
Polling
on the
item.
consent calendar.
Okay. Good. Council? Council? All right.
Clarification, Mayor, pull it from the agenda.
All right. Ceremonial presentations. We got a few of these this evening. The first is our Yuba City Police Department K-9 presentation. At this point, we'll go ahead and have K-9 Fasco and Officer Chris Gibson please come up. We'll do that one first. We're going to stay back here. Okay, please welcome Police K-9 Fasco and Handler Officer Gibson. In recognition of your retirement, Fasco, our Police K-9, one of our Police K-9s. Whereas Police K-9 Fasco was hired as a Police K-9 by the City of Yuba City on April 12, 2013, and after a very thorough and comprehensive testing process, and K-9 Fasco successfully competed and won numerous awards during the Western States Police K-9 Association trials, including the Top Team Award on several occasions. He was trained and certified for patrol duties, which consists of area and building searches for suspects, suspect apprehension, handler protection, and tracking of suspects and missing persons. And K-9 Fasco has been trained in locating evidence, such as firearms, ammunition, and has successfully located both during actual incidents. And Fasco and his handler, Officer Gibson, have represented the City of Yuba City and the Yuba City Police Department in numerous community events in order to showcase the value and need of canines in police service. And whereas Police K-9 Fasco kept faith with the public, he has so honorably served for more than 77 years. Just 7 years. Not 77. But he is 49 in dog years. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Mark Boomgarden, Mayor of the City of Yuba City, on behalf of our entire council and the citizens we serve, do hereby congratulate Police K-9 Fasco and his handler, Officer Chris Gibson, on the occasion of his honorable retirement on July 4th, 2020. We wish Fasco the very best in his future.
I just want everybody to realize just how much time that Chris and Kenny later on and Brandon and Eric and all the other K-9 officers put into this beyond their normal hours and the devotion that goes into this. So when we retire the dogs, we give them the option. So one of the things that the city council does is they offer them the option of buying back the dog for $1. And in this particular occasion, the council is going to spot them the $1, and they've had it framed. So another thing we did, and Tony put this together, and a vice mayor put it together as well with that, is a shadow box, what we call. So it's got a lot of memorabilia, the dog, the badge, the collar, the couple of cards and pictures and stuff, just to memorialize as best we can for the dedication that they put into this. And this isn't just Chris, this is the family as well, so thank you guys.
I also have, courtesy of John Cassidy and Pasquini's, a treat for Fasco.
It's not steak mark, yeah. No.
Okay, steak, John. Okay, that's. Are you sure you're not going to eat it? Here's the proclamation. Would you mind saying a few words to us?
Yeah, it's been a long time with Fosco. Anyway, it's really been an honor to be, selected as the standout amongst the standouts, and it's kind of tough to see him, getting old. You look back in the mirror, watching his face turn gray, and hard to. Been a long road, a lot of work, a lot of time with the family, and I appreciate it.
Better? All right. K-9 Gunner and Officer Souls. He's already seen what's coming. Okay. In recognition of your retirement, Gunner, Police K-9. Whereas Police K-9 Gunner was hired as a Police K-9 by the City of Yuba City on February 19th, 2014, and after a very thorough and comprehensive testing process, K-9 Gunner successfully competed and won numerous awards during the Western States Police K-9 Association trials, including the Top Team Award on several occasions. He was trained and certified for patrol duties, which consists of area and building searches for suspects, suspect apprehension, handler protection, and tracking of suspects and missing persons. And K-9 Gunner has been trained in locating evidence such as firearms and ammunition, and has successfully located both during actual incidents. And Gunner and his handler, Officer Souls, have represented the City of Yuba City and the Yuba City Police Department in numerous community events in order to showcase the value and need of canines in police service. And whereas Police K-9 Gunner kept faith with the public he so honorably served for more than 7 years. Again, 49 dog years. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Mark Boomgarden, Mayor of the City of Yuba City, on behalf of the entire council and the citizens we serve, do hereby congratulate Police K-9 Gunner and his handler, Officer Kenny Souls, on the occasion of Gunner's honorable retirement on June 1st, 2021. We wish K-9 Gunner the very best in his future. We splurged for another $1 in honor of Gunner. Not necessarily you, but no, I'm kidding. kidding. I'm kidding. No. So we're very pleased to provide you with this in recognition of the service of Gunner and your service.
So it's very similar. I think we had a couple of additional items that Tony found, and Kenny and Gunner, we want to thank you guys very much. And just also, both of the canine handlers have new dogs as well, and they'll be bringing them by sometime in the near future so everybody can see them. But they do a fantastic job. The family does a fantastic job. I appreciate the council recognizing them and the program. So thank you on behalf of the police department, Kenny, for everything that you and the family have done.
Is this steak again, or is this Salmon Cassidy? All right. Thank you. Wow. Obviously a great scent.
Kenny, that's not for you. Yeah.
All right, Kenny.
I have too many people to thank. I need to thank my wife, my kids. Don't do it. It's tough. Our house is definitely a canine house. And you get called out in the middle of the night. I got kids running around, grabbing my belt, stuff like that. So, thank you. To the chief. I think the chief finally gave me a dog because he's tired of hearing me in the hallway. Ask him when he's going to have a dog spot. All my supervisors, all of them, Bernardus, Sam, Bill, I mean, everyone has been top notch. So the council, they believed in what we wanted to build, and then Chris. I couldn't ask for a better teammate. So I have a lot of people to thank, but thank you to all of you guys.
We are very fortunate to have our canine officers in the Yuba City Police Department. Thank you. That's one happy dog. Okay. Our next ceremonial presentation is to the Sutter Performing Arts Association. We have a proclamation. And at this point, I would like to invite the entire Sutter Performing Arts Association board, along with co-founder Russ Clark, to please come forward. John, they want to know if they get some steak too.
Well, I went over to Carl's Jr.'s, but that guy sold the place. I couldn't get it. Sorry.
Okay. Please join me in welcoming the Sutter Performing Arts Theater Board and Russ Clark. Whereas, yeah. Whereas in 2004, Mr. John Toscano and Russ Clark purchased the Sutter Theater for approximately $300,000 in hopes of renovating the theater to make it a place to offer cultural experiences to all residents in the community and at the same time save a local landmark. In 2006, the Sutter Performing Arts Theater Association Board was formed by John Toscano, Russ Clark, Cheryl Dahlman, Linda Plummer, Janet Siller, Lisa Kelly, and Terry Tomlinson. We also want to recognize board members throughout the years: Jonathan Trujillo, Abby Cesenia, Dennis Cook, Fred Brown, Gail Carter. And the 2021 Sutter Performing Arts Board of Directors consists of Terry Tomlinson, Susan Miller, Cheryl Dahlman, Patty Sievers, Janet Siller, Joe Moy, Linda Plummer, Hardeep Singh, Allison Robinson, and Glenn Everett. Whereas over the years, the board raised over $1.5 million in donations, volunteer time, and material donations, and professional expertise. And whereas some of the fundraisers included the pianist, oh my, thank you, Ika Agus, the Little Stars Trio, Dinner Theater Productions, and the biggest fundraiser was the Sutter Speakeasy. In 2010, the theater gallery opened 4 days a week and was staffed solely by volunteers. The art sales generated over $30,000 for a restoration, and in 2020 it closed due to COVID-19 with hopes to reopen soon. Currently, the venues at the Sutter Theater include the gallery, the Black Box Theater, which is the Clark Family Theater, seating up to 50, and upon completion of the renovation, the theater will seat up to 299 people. And the dedication of Terry Tomlinson and Susan Miller will not go unnoticed, as their efforts together and seeing the progress through all the dust, coordination, and scheduling of the construction, never-ending maintenance, recruitment of artists, and many, many other fine details to the success of the theater as it stands today. Whereas on June 25th, 2021, the Sutter Performing Arts Theater transferred the keys to the Yuba Sutter Arts and Culture's Board of Directors, where they will continue the dreams of John Toscano and Russ Clark to have a regional performing arts center for all the community to enjoy. I do want to recognize, I do believe Nancy's here with us. As I mentioned when I had the opportunity to speak at the transfer of the keys, I remember distinctly as a then fire chief walking into that building and having Mr. Toscano say, "Boy, what's it going to take?" And I could, "It's going to take a lot, John." Yes. And, you know, to see what it looks like today is just awesome. And the work of those people that have served on the board and this current board, phenomenal. Now, therefore, be it resolved, I, Mark Boomgarden, Mayor of the City of Yuba City, and on behalf of the entire City Council, do hereby commend and applaud the Sutter Theater Performing Arts Board on their unyielding efforts to save the Sutter Theater by transforming it into the Sutter Performing Arts Theater that will become a destination, and I would say a super valuable asset to our community for all the arts in our community to enjoy. So, I'm going to come on down. Come on around.
You see how many people?
I think we'll have proclamations made for all of you. I have one to give tonight, and I would love to give it to Nancy and Russ, if that's okay. Okay? And I would appreciate it if you both would like to say something.
Well, I just want to say thank you very much on behalf of my husband, who should have been here to accept this. But in any case, it's going to be a wonderful venue, and we're so lucky that everybody put everything into it to make it what it is today and what it will become.
We thank John Toscano that he's the one that came up with the idea. So, and did the hard work, got it all through, and the board here and all the people that in the town and everything that supported it. I think it's a great venue for the whole city and everybody to be proud of.
You know, I just want to say a special thank you to the city of Yuba City, both current mayor and previous mayors, as well as current council and previous councils. They've supported us in every stretch of the imagination. And not only their leadership helped us through the hard times as well as the good times, but also the staff. The city has a wonderful staff, whether we're dealing with permits, inspections, paperwork, hydrant stuff, things I didn't even know about. They educated and brought it forward in always a timely manner and with always a smile. So thank you to the staff and to the leadership of Yuba City.
You can go that way. We'll let everybody have a shot who wants it.
I'd like to thank all the members of the board. This has been an incredible journey to see the achievements of what this has encompassed, to have become a member of the board when this is nothing but sand and concrete, and I couldn't even envision what was envisioned, and to see what has come to pass is absolutely incredible to me. I look forward to see what it's going to become in the future, but it's wonderful to know that within a very short period of time, the community will be able to enjoy what has already been accomplished, and I will become then a guest, and I very much look forward to it. Thank you.
I'm just thankful that I got to be a part of this, and I feel so very proud that when I walk into that theater, I see the way it is now. Like she said, it was nothing when we started. And to walk into it now and see that it's just going to be a gemstone to Plymouth Street and to Yuba City. And we're so happy to have been able to do that.
Really? Really? I have been on this board since inception, and it has been a powerful lot of work, but I have to tell you that the board and all the members of the board, not just today's members, but the others, everybody worked together collaboratively with compassion for the ideas, and was willing, everyone compromised, and without that kind of work on a board, I don't think we could have made it, but we did. And I think we did it in an amazing way, and I'm proud to be part of the group. And again, the city was overwhelming with their support and help. We thank you many times over.
Thank you all. This has been quite an adventure since I first dragged myself over to your meeting. Remember, I forced myself. I'm like, I gotta be part of this. Anyway, I just want to give y'all jazz hands.
I would like to thank everybody. I've enjoyed my years. I've been on it since inception too, but I've loved every bit of it, and I love theater. So I'm looking forward, and I'm proud that we did it.
I'd like to say I was trapped. I'd recently retired from Lehman Construction, and John said, hey, you're not doing anything. Why don't you come to the show for a minute? And 10 years later, I'm still there. So it's been an honor. It's been an honor making John's dream come true. And it's just, I couldn't be more proud of everybody.
Okay, we are going to skip number 3 for now. We're waiting for our Say Love representatives to show up. So we'll go to item number 4, which is the COVID-19. It's discussion and action on measures to mitigate the impacts of the COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic. This will be presented by our city manager, Mr. David Vaughn.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, tonight the update is brief, and I can try and extend it while we wait on Jeff. However, actions that the city has taken in their last meetings and actions they'll take tonight to adopt an outdoor dining ordinance, which will now allow us also on the agenda to rescind the emergency proclamation. And so those are the 2 items that the council will be considering in the next round this evening as we move forward through this process.
Okay, any questions of Mr. Vaughn by the council? Seeing none, any comments from the public on this item? Seeing none, anybody online?
No line.
Okay. We're going to go ahead and move to public comments, or excuse me, public communications, the appearance of interested citizens. Due to COVID-19, residents are encouraged to attend our city council meetings via the web conference or submit comments by email. Consistent with the public health guidelines for social distancing, limited seating is available in the council chambers. If an attendee does not have a facial covering, one can be provided. Comments may be made either at the council chamber podium. Please participate via web conference or email if you are ill or have been exposed to COVID-19. I have 2 speaker cards. The first one is from Miss Elaine Miles.
The only reason I'm asking what's going on is I live on Jamie Drive, which is north of Yuba City, but the road to get up there is the West Onstadt, and the sign says FRIG, and I don't even know what that means. But they changed this. The 35-mile zone used to be much further south on it. Now it's way up, and there's a big tree thing that you can't even see it until you get up there. So please, the city needs to take care of it. So please fix it. And I don't think that the 35-mile speed limit belongs that high, because it used to be down lower and people drove 35 miles. And they're allowed to go 35 miles an hour going south. But why not north? But anyhow, it's an issue.
Thank you, Ms. Miles, and our city manager has got that, and we will deal with that. Next card I have is from Heather Essman.
Good evening, council. Good, you can hear me. So my name's Heather Essman. I'm a citizen here, and first of all, I wanted to say, as part of public record, I had a meeting this week, or last week. But anyways, that I do tend to ask a lot of questions, and I wanted to make sort of my intentions clear that it's important for me, at least, that everything that the city is doing, first of all, I totally am in awe of the council, because a lot of people don't realize they don't get anything for this as far as monetary, and some of them even evidently donate that back. So they're doing this basically for the community and the goodness of their hearts, and I am in awe of that, because that's a lot of work. There are a lot of commissions, there's a lot of meetings, there's a lot of events, and they're expected to be at pretty much every one of those. So at least 2, right? So I'm in awe of that, and I just wanted to say I do appreciate that. So my comments aren't directed necessarily as criticisms, it's more of a matter of making sure that things are a matter of public record. So on that note, I started looking up some information, because I've noticed that the item number 4, which is the COVID update, seems to be a little bit less informative as it was earlier. There's not a lot of information, but there is some things that I've been kind of tracking to see. And I did notice that I looked at some of the numbers. There's no numbers as far as vaccinations are concerned, but it appears that Yuba County, the maximum amount could be 30% that are vaccinated. If you take the total population of Yuba County, which is like 78,000, and then divide that or use that number with the 31,000 vaccinations that occurred. And Sutter County is somewhere around 40% as the high, depending on whether or not it's one or more shots taken. With those numbers, you can also see that the cases in the hospital, they have rose slightly in the last this last 2 weeks where I've been looking. Unfortunately, today there were 28 new cases. Hospitalization has stayed under 10 people from Sutter County. The majority of the people in the hospital are actually from Yuba County, even though their population is lower. So if you want to take a correlation between vaccination numbers and numbers of people in the hospital, you can do that. There's no evidence, but there is a correlation between the two as far as the numbers are concerned. And I just thought that it was important that some of this information get out. It's still much, much better than it was at Christmas time. So I just wanted to make that part of the public record. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Burns.
So, good evening.
Good evening.
It's been a while since I've been here. I missed it.
We missed you.
So I want to talk about the shopping cart, situation. We've talked about it in this council time and time again. And I don't know why. I mean, I'm sick of seeing these shopping carts all over town when I'm driving. I think it's ugly, okay? And that's not the Yuba City that I like. So I don't know why. I mean, they're stolen. Why can't the police department do something about it? And then, on Market Street, it's like a shopping cart convention, okay? And I stopped to take a picture this morning. I know you're aware of that because I sent it to you, okay? And I had a guy holler at me, "What are you doing?" So he's sitting there they got their regular program there where they just hang out. I mean, he's sitting there like he's on a 747 in an old car seat, two guys, and asking me what I'm doing. I said, "Oh, I'm tired of seeing this garbage all over the city." "Oh, well, you're a good citizen, aren't you?" We went back and forth. But I said, why do you have to parade all your trash all over the city? Can't you just find a little spot and keep it hidden? But anyway, it's disheartening to me to see that trash all over the city. And then I want to talk about the same issue with the COVID program, and I want to talk about division. And we talked about that, and actually the city attorney is supposed to be looking into this situation where they are segregating out people that will not buy into the propaganda program. I'm one of them. I believe I have the right to choose whether I will be vaccinated or not. And I'm sick of the shoving it down your throat program that we see constantly by government, public servants, the mainstream media, and you know what I'm talking about. So I recall this little slogan. Now you're going to remember this. My body, my choice. Remember that, people? Yeah. It's my body, it's my choice. And I don't like seeing my grandkids forced to wear a mask to go to school. I tell them every time I see them, rip that mask off, throw it on the ground, and tell your teacher you ain't going to wear it.
Thank you, Mr. Burns. Anybody else like to speak for public comment? Anybody online?
No comments.
Okay. Still no Mr. Salov. Okay. All right. Consent calendar. All matters listed under the consent calendar are considered to be routine and can be enacted in one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items prior to the time that the council votes on the motion unless members of the city council staff or public request specific items to be discussed or removed from the consent calendar for individual action. Would anybody from the public like to speak on any of the items that are listed on the consent calendar? Okay. Anybody online? Judy?
Comments?
Okay. Seeing and hearing none, then I would bring this item to the council.
Through the mayor, move to approve consent items 6 through 14.
Second?
With pulling item 10?
Excluding item 10.
Yeah, 10 is in there, yeah, with the exception of 10.
Okay, I believe I had a motion by Vice Mayor Shaw and a second by Councilperson Kirchner. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the consent calendar is approved. Move to business items. This is item number 15, community sponsorship requests. I have a note here to check in with Council Member Kirchner.
Yes, I'm recusing myself from the first sponsorship.
Councilmember, I think you're excluding yourself from item B, but item A would be considered first. So item A is consideration for Beale Military Liaison. And then when they take action, item B, or do we want to do?
I'd suggest recusal for both of them. If you don't
City Attorney has recommended recusal for the entire item.
Okay.
So you were, see ya, we'll come get you.
Maybe.
All right, item 15 is community sponsorship requests. This will be presented by Mr. George Barlow.
Honorable Mayor and members of council, my name is George Barlow, administrative analyst with the city, working in the city manager's office. Tonight I bring to you the community sponsorships. We have several of them. City sponsorships, the program and purpose. City sponsorships reflects support of specific events by an organization. The intent is that the public will receive some intrinsic cultural, economic, educational, or entertainment value from the events. First one is the monetary request of $2,500. That's from the Beale Military Liaison Council. Their mission includes an unwavering commitment to enhance the quality of life for Beale military personnel and their families by improving their welfare and morale, and ultimately their experience at Beale Air Force Base and our communities. Second, we have the acting company. It's an in-kind request of $4,400. It's for the rental of Gaucher Aquatic Park. Magic Theater Productions will be putting on Shakespeare in the Park, September 17th through the 19th, 24th through the 26th, and October 1st through the 3rd. Next, we have Alzheimer's Association. It's an in-kind request of $1,025. It's rental for Gaucher Aquatic Park. The Walk to End Alzheimer's is an annual event and is the largest fundraiser for Alzheimer's care. Saturday, September 11th, 2021 is the scheduled walk day. Next, we have Yuba City United Way. It's an in-kind request of $1,360, rental of Sam Brannan Park. Just a note to council, in the staff report, it mentions Gaucher Aquatic Park. Since the staff report, we found out that Sam Brannan Park will actually be the location of this event. The annual Community Resource Fair will take place on August 21st, 2021. The United Way Community Resource Fair showcases partner agencies and the vital work these nonprofits are doing in our local community. Next is also a sponsorship request from Yuba City United Way. It's an in-kind request for $1,075. It is for the rental of Gaucher Aquatic Park. It's for the 5K, 10K Spooktacular River Run. It's held annually. This year it's on Saturday, October 31st, 2021. The funds received by the United Way from participants goes to help local partner nonprofit organizations. In 2019, the proceeds touched the lives of over 15,000 people in need in our community. In the FY 21-22 budget, funds available as follows: community contributions, $15,000, community events, $10,000. With a note on this, only the monetary sponsorships would affect the budget. In the community contributions or the community events line items. In-kind sponsorships are non-charged, fee-related sponsorships. Physical impact, monetary sponsorship in the amount of $2,500. In-kind sponsorships in the amount of $7,860. Staff recommendation is A, consider a monetary sponsorship request from the Beale Military Liaison Council of $2,500 for support enhancing the quality of life for Beale Airmen and their families. Also B, consider an in-kind sponsorship request, then adopt a resolution waiving the facility use fees for the following organizations: the Acting Company, in kind of $4,400, the Alzheimer's Association, in kind of $1,025, the Yuba City United Way, in kind of $1,360, and the Yuba City United Way, in kind of $1,075. And with that, is there any questions?
Questions from the council? I do have one, and it's more directed towards the city manager than it is to you, Mr. Barlow, and that is just more of a education for me and those that might also put contribution requests in. We receive these periodically, and we're reviewing them quarterly.
That is correct. We have a 3-month cycle that we will review and provide updates to the council. That is the general plan. We do receive them sometimes out of sequence, and we address those, but the goal is to do them on a quarterly basis.
Thank you. Pleasure of the council. Oh, hold on. Public comment.
I have a question, because when I add this up, it comes up to 7,460 instead of 7,860. What's the difference?
I guess we better check our math. I don't know.
Where's finance? $4,040.
George, that may be the misprint in the document. The $4,000 that is put onto the acting company should actually be $4,400?
Correct.
Oh, so in regards of the agenda versus the staff report?
Correct.
So in the staff report, it is $4,400, and that is the request.
There was an error in the agenda.
Any other comment from the public? All right, online?
No comments here.
Okay. Now, pleasure of the council.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, Have a motion by Councilperson Harris, a second by Councilperson Espandola. Got you on that one.
Through the mayor. And just a clarification, those motions were as to the corrected amount, the $4,400 for Shakespeare in the Park?
To the correct amount, yeah.
Already, thank you.
Second with the correct amount.
I have a first and a second to the corrected amount. All those in favor of item 15 signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, item 15 passes unanimously. Could you please get Councilperson Kirchner? All right. Item 16, Enterprise Fleet Management Lease Agreement. This will be presented by our Finance Director, Mr. Spencer Morrison.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. On this item, I do have with me today.
Can I ask, we do have Jeff Stevens here, and so can we come back to item 3 and we'll bring Spencer up in a second?
Sure. Okay, great. Glad to see you here. All right. So it's time for item number 3, Say Love recognition. If you want to join me down front. Council. Please welcome Jeff and Cherie Stevens, founders of the Sutter Yuba Say Love. Whereas on June 23, 2021, Say Love was honored as the 3rd Assembly District's 2021 Nonprofit of the Year and is certainly deserving of special public recognition by the City of Yuba City. Exemplifying the best attributes of the vital and interdependent relationship between communities and their nonprofit organizations, Say Love has proven itself to be an invaluable source of community outreach, engagement, and a myriad of positive changes within the Sutter and Yuba counties. Say Love owes its genesis to Jeff Stevens with the desire to give back to the community. His longtime history of volunteerism, leadership in the Yuba Sutter community as a school board member, fundraising organizer for police and fire departments, and volunteer with the Yuba Sutter Trauma Intervention Program, all of which contributed to his decision in the wake of the devastating November 2018 Camp Fire to found Say Love as a grassroots citizens organization to care and support the Yuba Sutter area and help clean up the community while also serving as a vehicle for change, and you've certainly accomplished that. In February 2019, his first event had approximately 35 volunteers. Meeting on the last Saturday of the month at Hope Point Nazarene Church, they go out into the community and help clean it up. Now in 2021, Say Love has between 75 to 400 people come out to participate on a regular basis. Besides cleaning up 2 counties, they also assisted in cleaning up homeless camps, assisted Sutter County on the Better Way homeless housing, worked with Habitat for Humanity on cleaning up shelter for the homeless. They put out flags at the cemetery on Memorial Day. Clean up at schools in our river bottoms, removed 200 abandoned cars from the river bottoms, partnered with Rotary to landscape at Yuba College, provided gift bags for nurses during COVID Easter 2019, currently are collecting new clothes and Say Love boxes throughout the community, and the list goes on, giving back to the community in more ways than one. Sponsors that have just stepped up without being asked, funding coming from all areas, donations of equipment and supplies. Donations include trailers, garbage truck, and skid steer. This is over $100,000 of equipment that was donated in just over a year to Say Love through the coordination and efforts. Say Love is the community, all parts of the community. That is what makes it a success. Thank you. And on behalf of the entire Yuba City Council, we want to congratulate you on your being awarded the Nonprofit of the Year. We have a nice little plaque, a nice letter, and a swag bag that we hope. And we'd be honored if you guys would say a few words.
Well, as I was listening to you talk about everything we've done, and it's not me and Cherie or anyone else. It's this whole community, and it's everybody involved here. We're all part of Say Love. Say Love stands for Sutter and Yuba Love, and all of us doing things in this city and county and over in Marysville and Yuba County, we do it because we love our area, and that's what we do.
I'm going to take an opportunity to plug our fundraiser. So we have a fundraiser, our first one coming up on the 27th of August, and it's going to be out at Peachtree Country Club, and it is going to be the epitome of Say Love, which is the goofiest form of golf you could ever play. So every hole will have a gimmick that has something to do with trash and Say Love and what we're about, and so it's just gonna be a lot of fun. So I hope that the community will come out and support it, because everything that Say Love brings in goes right back into the community.
All right. We have a professional or near professional golfer here, so.
Yeah, this one is going to do well at. If you're
windmill, I'm okay.
I know.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks again. All right. Get back on track here. All right. Enterprise Fleet Management Lease Agreement. Mr. Morrison.
Thank you, Mayor. I also have with me this evening our fleet supervisor, Tony Jane, and I have with me from Enterprise Fleet Management, Ali Bonet and Anthony Emlin. Just for a little bit of a background, the City of Yuba City owns its vehicles. We have about 165 vehicles in our vehicle replacement plan, vehicles and equipment. The replacement plan has been about 75% funded each year since the end of the recession. We have about a 50%, some of our vehicles only 50% funded, some of them are up to 75. We're actually considering leasing late model fleet to produce the highest fuel economy possible, have the latest safety equipment, lowest purchase price, and a higher resale value. And to give a presentation is going to be Ali and Anthony.
Hi. Hi, ladies and gentlemen of the council. I will, thank you. I will introduce myself, and then I'll let Anthony introduce himself. So my name is Ali Bonet. I'm an account executive for Enterprise Fleet Management. So my primary role is to onboard new accounts and to focus on new business opportunities, both in the commercial and government space. So I've been with Enterprise for about 4 years now, and I'm pretty familiar with the government space. I've worked with City of Rockland most recently, and then County of Humboldt, and then we're also going to be partnering with County of Siskiyou and Dos Palos Oro Unified School District. So very familiar in the government space, and then I'll let Anthony kind of introduce himself.
Sure. Thank you, members of the council. Anthony Emlin, Area Sales Manager with Enterprise Fleet Management. I've been with Enterprise for 10 years, just recently relocated out here from Philadelphia, so still getting a lay of the land out here in California and loving it so far. My role and responsibility as the area sales manager is to oversee our account executive team, so Allie Bonet and her peers, as well as our client strategy manager team. So they're the ones who are focused on providing exceptional client experience, but also providing recommendations that are fiscally and operationally sound on an ongoing basis. So that's a little bit about my background. Allie's going to be primarily running the show, but I'll definitely be available to answer any questions as you see fit.
And then just some housekeeping, we did leave some time. It's only about 4 or 5 slides, so we did leave some time at the end for questions. So if you guys have any questions, just feel free to wait till the end and we'll get to them. So here, like I said, we throughout the state of California, primarily out of our branch, because we are located in the greater Sacramento area, we've partnered with about 180 government clients, and that's cities, counties, special districts, schools. So here's a list of some of our current clients, all range in different tenure, but enterprise as a whole grows organically from word of mouth and referrals and providing excellent customer service. So that is our ultimate goal. So again, here's some of our current clients, and they all range from tenure and type of client. So before kind of getting into our recommendations that we put forth to Tony and Spencer, we are looking at 48 vehicles, which is somewhat of a pilot program. Like Spencer was saying, there's over 100 vehicles currently in the fleet, but we're primarily looking at 48 vehicles. So here's some of the opportunities that we found within the fleet currently. 81% of those vehicles are 10 years and older. The average age of the current fleet is a little under 15 years. The average age of disposal is about 24 years. Obviously, with a aging fleet, you're going to have higher fuel and maintenance costs, increased downtime, and then ultimately that's going to negatively impact productivity. We're also going to be focusing on standard safety equipment, how that's played a huge role in a lot of our government clients with cycling out their vehicles. Ultimately, Yuba City will save, when we did a 10-year evaluation, $430,000 within a 10-year period. The average sustainable savings once that program is implemented after the 4th year is a average about $50,500 per year. So some of the objectives that we're going to look at transitioning into is going to be we're going to go from a vehicle life cycle, which I had mentioned earlier, of 24 years to a little under 3 years. And again, this depends on the type of vehicle, how many miles that vehicle is going per year, and the utilization. We're going to be selling some of those vehicles. We're going to be working with Tony to sell some vehicles. If we were to sell all 48, we would get a estimated capital of $259,000. Maintenance savings, so right now it's about $155 per car per month. We're going to be reducing that cost to about $28 per month per vehicle. Ultimately, this is going to save about $73,300 per year. Fuel spend will reduce about 27%, and this will lead to about $11,300 savings per year. Ultimately, we're going to be leveraging an open-end lease, which just allows the city to maximize on its cash flow. Like I mentioned earlier, we're going to look at some standard safety equipment. So obviously transitioning vehicles on a 3-4 year basis. Some of them are a little bit newer or with less term lengths, but you're going to have newer vehicles. But currently there's 30 vehicles out of that 48 that predate the anti-lock brake standardization, which was implemented in 2007. 39 of those vehicles predate the electronic stability control standardization in 2012. And then 42 of those vehicles predate the standardization of the backup camera. So that would be a huge focus for us, would be to obviously implement a cycling plan that will allow Yuba City to have newer vehicles and have up-to-date standard features. In regards to an RFP process, we will be piggybacking off of the Sourcewell contract that we were awarded. So Enterprise Fleet Management as a whole was awarded a Sourcewell contract, and Yuba City is a member. It compares us to other fleet management companies and looks at items such as bidder's ability to sell, bidder's marketing plan, a variety of products, and then industry successes as well. So here are the results. So as a city, Yuba City does acquire vehicles at a much lower rate with the government buy. So we are going to be leveraging your buying power and then implementing a more controlled resale program. So we're cycling vehicles, depending on the vehicle, could be every 12, 24, 36, 48 months. So again, we're going to be looking at each vehicle as a separate contract. We're We're going to be lowering that total cost of ownership because we're going to be reducing maintenance and fuel costs. And we're going to be right-sizing the fleet. So if we do indicate that there are any vehicles that aren't needed due to low annualized mileage, then we will recommend to get rid of that vehicle. And then ultimately, after I had mentioned earlier, after we implement this program, within a 4-year period, the average sustainable savings will be $50,500. So this will create a sustainable, budget-friendly, safe program. So your employees and the constituents will know that Yuba City is operating safer vehicles. We are also going to be using a local upfitter cop shop that is located in Yuba City. And then based on availability and the competitive pricing, we will use local dealers as well to acquire vehicles. Any questions?
Any questions?
I have one. Your last comment was based on availability, you would acquire vehicles through local dealers.
Yes.
I've noticed a shortage of inventory driving around town. Can you address that?
Yeah, it's a struggle we're seeing nationwide due to the microchip shortage. A lot of the vehicles that we acquire aren't through in stock, through a dealer right now anyways, just because availability is pretty low. I would say that we have a good relationship with local dealers, so we are able to kind of find vehicles maybe a little bit quicker than some others may be able to find vehicles, but we would recommend looking at a factory order, which a lot of our evaluation does come from a factory order. So we'd be ordering the vehicles specifically from the manufacturer. But we can use dealers, but it kind of depends with the market and if vehicles are available. But nationwide, you're seeing a shortage due to the microchip shortage. Hopefully that gets better within a year or so, depending on what happens with COVID and any more other shutdowns and the microchip shortage. So.
Thank you.
Do you have anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, if I could add, one of the benefits to a factory order as opposed to an in-stock vehicle is you're not subject to the option content that's available. We can build it to spec based off of the needs of the application and the job. There is a lead time, but we did factor that into the program. We're looking really probably out until the early spring when these vehicles would actually arrive.
If I may, what types of vehicles would you not be able to provide?
Ambulances? No. We're able to provide any vehicles that have an emergency response, but that's not going to be the primary focus. We're going to be looking more at the light duty fleet specifically for this pilot program. The only vehicles that we have restrictions with today is anything that's over 26,000 pound GVW, so anything that would be over that heavy duty class. But we could do anything under that. We also can't do equipment, so any street sweepers or fire trucks.
And then with you have several clients here, so it's a pretty successful program for you so far. In your experience, have they communicated anything that may be a disadvantage to go on this route to you?
So as Ali had alluded to, they are all at different tenures. So it starts off with the plan and a framework that the account executive would provide, and as our industry changes and the needs change within your organization, that's when we have a dedicated client strategy manager that would be evaluating on an ongoing basis changes in our market and the industry and how to best pair that up with you. As far as disadvantages, the only disadvantage that I could think of, you're in an equity lease, so there's a lot of flexibility. So a lot of people hear the term lease, they think you're locked into a contract, but since it's an equity lease, we do make sure that it's conservatively depreciated based off of where we see the market going. So if you decide to early term a vehicle, we would only recommend based off of the anticipated resale and the balance on the vehicle, whether it makes sense to get out of it early or not. But that's an ongoing conversation. So to answer your question, the whole idea is to stick with the plan, replace more vehicles with less capital outlay, which would drive up your resale proceeds, getting out of vehicles that have higher value, but also reducing your maintenance expenses as well. Where we see issues is where we deviate from the plan and the fleet starts to age again, and then the capital that's available in order to continue to have those proceeds fund the fleet from a resale side is really where we run into issues year after year.
And then for the city manager, how do we do as far as insurance, if you will? liability? I know we're kind of basically self-insured, but how would, the same program?
Same insurance program. That
Nothing
doesn't
different.
change. It gives us an opportunity to, leverage leasing versus capitalizing and buying equipment outright. So this is a.
Thank you.
This is a demo.
Any other questions? Okay. Any questions or comments from the public?
No comments.
Thanks. All right. Council.
Through the mayor. I move to adopt a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Enterprise FM Trust, Delaware subsidiary trust, to lease city vehicles.
Second.
All right. I have a motion by Vice Mayor Shaw, a tie for a second. I'll give this one to Councilperson Kirchner. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, item 16 passes unanimously. Item 17, fire apparatus purchase agreement. Again, Mr. Morrison. Thank you, Enterprise representatives, too. Thank you for your time. Make us a great deal.
Welcome to California. Thank you. All right.
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor. Joining me tonight for this item on Teams is Christian Sprunger from NHA Advisors. And Tony Jane, of course, is going to remain for this item as well. And I also have your Fire Chief, Jesse Alexander, helping with the presentation tonight. Staff has identified 2 engines in the city's fleet for replacement, a 1992 ladder truck and a 2002 Type 1 engine, which is a pumper. The latest quotes are $1,317,000 for the truck and $769,000 for the engine, completely outfitted. At the end or very near the end of the apparatus life, we have only saved $1.3 million of the $2.1 needed to replace these 2 vehicles. Staff views lease financing as the most efficient method of replacing apparatus today, leaving the city with the most flexibility for cash on hand. Staff is recommending staying with Pierce for efficiencies in maintenance and training, and Golden State Fire Apparatus is the Pierce dealer in the Sacramento region. Pricing does come through Sourcewell, which is a government purchasing consortium.
Mayor, council members, you have 2 items before you this evening on requests for replacement of apparatus. The first one is a 2002 Pierce Type 1 engine. In your staff report, it is listed as 0220. There's 3 specific reasons we'd want to replace this. The first is that it's been in service for the 20th year of being in service. The average life expectancy for a first out piece of apparatus per industry standards is 15, so it's exceeded its normal life expectancy. The second is its maintenance costs. In the last 3 years, maintenance cost has been over $78,000. And this picture was taken at the fleet maintenance shop where it's getting or just finished up repairs, and so that number will increase for that 3-year average. And then in the mileage and hours, so this engine has over 175,000 miles and over 20,000 hours of operations. So don't think of this as your personal vehicle. The rapid acceleration and deceleration that happens as a person drives an emergency apparatus puts a lot of wear and tear on equipment. So 175,000, think of it almost in like dog years where it increases exponentially there. So that's where we're at, and that's why we're requesting. We want to recommend that it be replaced with a 2020 Pierce Velocity engine with a 1,500 GPM pump and a 750-gallon water tank. This would be the same exact spec from our previous engine that we purchased. This would allow standardization from Pierce for our apparatus, which allows for consistency and maintenance, and allows our fleet maintenance to pre-order parts for a quicker turnaround on repair issues, such as brakes, filters, tires, and rims that they can keep in stock. By doing this, this would allow the 2002 engine to go into a permanent reserve status and allow us to retire a 1995 engine that has been in service for 26 years. The second engine before you tonight, or piece of apparatus, is a 1992 Pierce Quint 90-foot ladder. It's listed on your staff report as 9211. 4 main reasons why we'd recommend that this be replaced is age. This is the 30th year of this apparatus being in service, which is older than a majority of the fire department personnel that we have on staff. So normal life expectancy of a fire apparatus is 25 years per industry standards and NFPA, so we've exceeded that. Maintenance costs for this, the last 3 years have been $61,000. Replacement parts is the third, which is becoming a little more challenging. Based upon the age of the apparatus, we're having to have parts manufactured to be replaced. Currently, there's a swivel that is having seepage at the turntable, and if that requires to be replaced, that will far exceed the value of this piece of apparatus that we could get in a bid process or at auction process. And then finally, the capabilities. Due to current designs, this is not the type of equipment or apparatus that we need in regards to our capabilities as a first out piece of equipment. So we're requesting that it be replaced with a 2020 107-foot Pierce Ascendant tandem quint axle with a 20,000 GPM pump and a 500-gallon water tank. This aerial ladder will have a 107-foot vertical reach and a 100-foot horizontal reach with a 750-pound tip capacity that will allow multiple firefighters on the tip, which is extremely important for that rescue process. There are significant increases in the capabilities from our current ladder truck and this recommendation, which will allow this apparatus to be used as a first out piece of app equipment on all fires and major extrications. Do we have any questions?
I was good until you said that it was older than most of the firefighters, because I was the guy that drove that here first. So
sorry, Mayor.
Yeah, thanks. Now, any questions from the council on either the engine or the ladder truck?
Jesse, just a completely unrelated, obviously, I'm clearly going to vote in favor of this. However, I'm curious, where's this thing going to end up?
This will go out to auction to try to get as much value as we possibly can. We, with the fleet manager, we've looked at what other vehicles that are roughly around this process. The last one we saw was a 2001 bucket ladder truck that went for, I believe it was $9,000. So probably not going to receive a lot of money in the bid process.
I'm just curious, is it going to be, did they typically get reused as a fire truck somewhere? I have no idea.
Probably not on the age of this one and the capabilities. Sometimes people just pick it up to use as side, but there are some apparatus that are picked up by very small departments that are not utilized, but with the extent of what we're needing.
A parade or a show vehicle or some sort.
It can be.
Just curious. Thank you.
So now that you asked that question, I'm curious about the other, how much would the other auction, and how could someone auction for that? Just curious.
So the other one would go into a permanent reserve status, and then that would allow us to retire and send to auction another engine. I have not checked to see what that would get at the current prices, but you happen to have a recommendation on that price?
Replacement apparatus was already described by the chief. NHA Advisors prepared a lease bid for receiving proposals from 14 banks, resulting in a 1.44% proposal coming to council on August 17th. And so this will be for 10-year leases on these vehicles and 3 others. However, to maximize our discounts on these purchases, we must make the purchase by July 31st to avoid a pandemic-induced metal surcharge of $13,000, and we must pay up front for both engines for an additional $69,000 discount. The city's currently earning 22 basis points. That's 0.22% in LAIF, which is our best investment option at this time. So the interest income impact will be very minimal to spend this money now. Staff is requesting an interim appropriation to make the purchase in advance, then reimbursing the general fund dollars in the vehicle replacement fund with lease proceeds. The build time for the vehicles is currently around 14 months. So we recommend adopting a resolution for the agreement with Golden State Fire Apparatus of Sacramento, California, authorize an interim appropriation with reimbursement, and authorize an appropriation of $1,906,688.33 of vehicle replacement funds and the following reimbursement. With that, I'll entertain any questions with a photo of the proposed new engine. New truck.
Any questions from the council?
Through the mayor.
Yes.
Spencer, something you said in your presentation started questioning, and something the chief said, 14-month lead time, but then I believe, Chief, you said the apparatus was a 2020, not a 21, but with a lead time. Can you explain what are we actually getting in this? Do they have the apparatus? We would get it sooner, or is this where they're at in production cycle? Where exactly are they at?
So in the process, we've been working with them to get the specific specifications of what we're looking for. So similar to purchasing your personal vehicle, sometimes there's that delay. So they're going to have to build it based upon the specifications. So we're submitting those specs right now. And so that process will take anywhere from 9 to 14 months, depending on how this goes to build it out.
For both of them?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions from the council? How about comments from the public?
My name's Thomas Burns. So I'm curious, for Yuba City, the reach on that was like 115 feet
107
or 107?
vertically, 100 horizontally.
Okay. I mean, where would we use that in this city? Good question, I think.
So I can answer that. So it's not necessarily the vertical reach that we're always looking for. So anything right now over 23 feet in our community, based upon the ladders that we have on our engines, we're not necessarily able to access. And that's really important because for a variety of reasons, as we grow higher, we need to make sure that we're able to access victims that are probably in a window. Secondly, and most importantly for me, is the most efficient and effective way for us to mitigate fires with modern fire behavior is through vertical ventilation. So we need to be able to access those roofs in a timely fashion, to cut holes in them, let all that hot smoky gas up and out. So sometimes you're not able to access that with the ground ladders, especially when you have second story or higher. The third reason that goes along with that, we have a lot of tile roofs in this community. And what worries me is that's a very high-risk, dangerous operation for vertical ventilation, so much so that Phoenix Fire Department doesn't even send people on the roof with their tiles. So what this will allow us with that horizontal reach is from the road, we're able to stretch that out. They're able to access and vertically vent while staying on the ladder, which is much more safer and efficient for our firefighters.
He nailed that answer, didn't he?
You can't tell the chief's a little passionate.
Like, good thing we hired him. Good job, Chief.
Other questions from the public?
Will our existing parking facilities handle that traffic?
You'd have to go to the microphone, please. No problem. We want everybody to be able to hear your question.
Sorry, I just didn't want to get up. I'm curious about the length of the truck. Will our existing storage facilities handle that rig?
The answer to that is yes.
We have money into one of the fire stations.
Yes, we have 2 fire stations that will adequately support the storing of that apparatus.
Judy, I can't remember if I asked you about online people.
You have not asked, and there's no comments.
Okay.
And the gentleman that just spoke, what was his name? Do you know?
Lawrence Burns, sorry. Is that my name?
Okay.
All right, well, first of all, I'd like to thank the fire department staff for their patience. These things are decades old. And this will make our community safer, make our personnel safer. So it's my pleasure to move to approve staff recommendations A, B, and C.
Second.
Right, I have a motion by Councilperson Harris, second by Vice Mayor Shaw. All those in favor of item 17 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, item 17 passes unanimously. Thank you, Spencer. Thank you, Chief. You guys in the back row, too.
So now the vehicle will be younger, okay? So, thanks.
You
for-
guys' day is coming. One day
Yeah,
you'll hear
yeah.
that speech.
No kidding.
Not me, but the rest of these guys.
All right, we're going to move to item 18, consideration of inclusion of delinquent charges and penalties for water and wastewater services on the secured tax roll. This, again, is presented by Mr. Morrison.
Thank you.
Tony, by the way, thanks. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to thank Katrina Woods, Customer Service Manager, for putting together this presentation and her service to the ratepayers throughout the year. Katrina will help with any more technical questions that you have. She's right here in the front row. Katrina and her team work very hard to help ratepayers stay off of this list. Our customer service staff wear many hats in their day-to-day. One of them is watching over the utility funds revenues on behalf of their ratepayers. Customer service sometimes comes in the form of urging and helping ratepayers manage delinquencies using a variety of tools to notify, educate, and ease the burden of paying. An impression can arise that the city is the only stakeholder on a delinquent account. But in reality, each ratepayer is responsible for their connection and use, and every payment not collected becomes the burden of the other 17,999 properties, give or take, in the system. Katrina's staff are the most successful revenue recovery outfit we have ever had, including companies we used in the old days. Her staff is diligent about collecting final bills and keeps the entire system in mind when measuring fairness. Please do recall that discontinuance of service for non-payment has not been an option per the governor's executive order going back to April of 2020. Since COVID, our list of unpaid active accounts increased from an average of 150 accounts per month to over 800. This is a combination of both tenant and owner-held accounts. Our municipal code states that property owners are ultimately responsible for their balances, regardless of agreements between tenant and owner. Outside of normal billing activities, which allow for owners to receive a copy of a tenant's bill monthly, owners were not notified of balances prior to this hearing. Notices were mailed to owners on June 2nd. The notice was printed in English, Spanish, and Punjabi. There are utility bill relief programs out there. The California COVID-19 Rent Relief Program provides financial assistance for unpaid utilities to income-eligible California renters. Customers were notified of the Federal Assistance Program. We provided a billing insert at the end of May, as well as messaging on the billing statement itself. We also advertised the program on our website, via phone, and at our counter. A new funding program was recently released as well, Low-Income Household Water Assistance Program, which the city plans to apply for once available. This is the acronym. LIHWAP funding will be distributed annually through 2023 through Health and Human Services Office of Community Services as grants to U.S. states, territories, tribes, and tribal organizations. The grants will assist eligible low-income households by providing funds to owners or operators of public water systems or treatment works to reduce arrearages of and rates charged to such households for such services. Since the notice to owners were mailed on June 2nd, 81 accounts have been paid in full and 8 accounts have established payment plans. These figures change daily as we will continue to hear from ratepayers and receive payments right up until the time where we need to send the lien list off to the county. One account holder did inform us that they were waiting for funding from the Federal Assistance Program. Housing is key, and they provided a copy of their approval letter, and the account was placed on a pending payment plan status. And so the recommendation is to adopt a resolution to include delinquent accounts on the secured tax roll. May I answer any questions?
Okay, before I open it up to the public for any questions or comments, anything from the council?
Yes, through the mayor. I'm glad that you described the difference between the owner and the tenant. And so I'm not clear, still, honestly, I'm not clear with if the owner, property owner would have rights to the home, but who is responsible for paying whatever we're asking? Is it the tenant or is it the owner?
So the typical tenant-owner relationship that we see, the tenant signs up for water, puts the water in their own name, and is responsible for paying the bill. However, our municipal ordinance or municipal code states that no matter what arrangement a tenant and an owner have, it's the property owner's ultimate responsibility to be sure that the water bill, the utility bill is paid.
Okay, so if the owner continues to be delinquent like these that we have, then we put these liens, what would occur once the liens are put in place?
So the lien is a tax roll lien. And so this, the amount that we submit will go onto the tax bills and be due next round. So they'll be December 10th and March 10th. It'll be 50% December 10th and 50%
For their property taxes, is that
go on their property taxes. That's
it would go on the property taxes of the property owner?
the property itself by parcel number.
And would we shut off service?
We are not allowed to shut off service at this time due to the governor's executive order back to April of 2020.
And if that order was changed, would we shut off service?
Not for these properties. We wouldn't double up, so these properties will be remedied through the property tax process.
Okay.
Any new charges that occur in going forward, discontinuance of service would be an option.
Okay.
Anybody else? Okay, I have two speaker cards. First, I would like to invite Robert or Bob Eggles, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I'm Bob Eggles, A-G-L-E-S. I own a rental house in Yuba City. I have not received a cent in rent since January of 2020. So do the math, that's 19 months to date. I have no belief that that will be remedied or changed at least until, and I do have belief at this point that the eviction moratorium will end on September 30th. I'm hopeful that it will be. The eviction proceedings on that property were started in February of 2020. That was before COVID wasn't even much of a topic of discussion, and it certainly wasn't a policy at that point. The eviction was started in late February, early March, again, before the eviction moratorium went into place. And I would point out that the tenant did not fall on hard times because of COVID. It wasn't a job loss. It wasn't anything. I honestly can't tell you why things have fallen into the state that they have, but rent wasn't being paid, and I took my recourse through the eviction process. I would ask you this. If we as a society want to allow tenants to live in houses and forbid owners from evicting them, why should I, as an individual, be responsible for payment of their charges? I appreciate the the water department's discussion of contracts between owners, tenants, ultimate responsibility. I understand all that, but they can go back and see that the water bill is contracted in the tenant's name. They're not paying it, so ultimately it falls on me. But again, if government mandate forbids me from possessing my property, why is it my responsibility to... Is my time up? No, go ahead. Why is it my responsibility to pay for those charges? And I would just point out, I believe that the Constitution of the United States forbids confiscation of property without compensation. And if I can't have possession of my property, I don't see how that's not confiscation. Can any of you clarify that for me?
I'll try. And please, staff, pick up if I misspeak. First and foremost, the City of Yuba City is not the governmental entity that is saying that you can't evict anybody. So unfortunately, as much as we may want to have some remedy for those in our community who may be adversely impacted by a decision made by the state government, legally we have no means to do so. So even if we agree with what you're saying, and I would leave that up to each individual, we don't have the legislative or the power or the reality of making that change here in this building.
I understand that and I appreciate that. I don't believe that it was the City of Yuba City nor the County of Sutter that instituted these policies.
Right.
But nevertheless, where does that leave me?
Well, like a lot of folks who own property, they're stuck. Yeah.
And certainly I'm not the only one in this position. I mean, I know that there are many others in Yuba City, in Sutter County, and throughout the state. So it's a problem. I'm also aware, and it's just been in the last week to 10 days that it was mentioned earlier that the housing is key. There may be some remedies available, and I'm aware of that. I haven't had a chance to research it. Those policies, the new policies in the housing is key, because there's been policies in the past, and it's pretty much left out landlords. Everything that's been done is for the tenant. Anyway, I think I've used my allotted time, and I appreciate your indulgence here. Do you have any questions for me?
The only question I have for staff is I know that you are actively engaged with finding relief for these types of situations. I think it's incumbent upon us to make in those situations, and it sounds like you're doing that. And I know we all appreciate your efforts in trying to work through these challenges, I guess, if we can continue to do that. Because I think this is certainly not a one-off. I think there's probably multiples of this out there where if we can find a way to bridge the gap, I think we would want to do that as a city.
And I would also like to thank staff. I received a letter personally with notification of this meeting, and thank you for sending that. Most of the stuff I get from either the tax collector or the city, regarding that property, I put in a file right here. So it's a big hairy mess. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the only thing I can say is I believe that with the regulations and that as they exist, that ultimately I'm going to end up paying the water bill. If we can't work through this housing is key and other programs, but I would at least request that any penalties be deleted from, if I have to pay the bill, I have to pay the bill, but to add penalties on top of that under the circumstances, I think is additionally grossly unfair.
It is unfair. It's very hard for landlord. We are not very rich. We need to pay the bill. We need to pay the loan. We need to pay everything.
Understand. I hear your request for us to consider the penalty piece, and I'm sure that we will do that as a council.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I basically have the same problem as this gentleman here.
Could you please, just so the people that are watching can hear you as well, if you don't mind, if you.
Oh, thank you. Well, my card is there, so I'll wait till my turn.
Okay, it's your turn. Go ahead.
Oh, it is?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The situation that I'm going to talk about.
Sir, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I do, for our record, we just need your name, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's Dick Tomasian, Thomassian.
Thank you.
All right. Sorry about that.
No worries.
My son is deployed, and he's going to be out of the country within very few days. And he just received a notice in the mail, I guess it was in the mail, telling him that he owes $1,404 on his water bill. Then after I got done talking to the lady in the front, that bill has gone to $1,590.40. It's not that we don't want to pay the bill. It's the fact that when that person doesn't pay the water bill for a month or two, no notices are sent. This thing has been laying in their office for 16 to 18 months without notifying anybody. And I think that is very wrong. It's not the amount, it's that owners, if the landlord is going to be responsible to pay those bills, why shouldn't he be notified within 2 months when the bill isn't paid? I have his power of attorney, and the military lawyers are telling him, the reason I'm here is because they told him that nobody can prosecute him or bring him to any kind of judgment now because he's deployed. Okay? It's a simple thing. It's not that he doesn't want to pay the bill. What happened here is he came to the city and told the city people to turn the water off from the house that he was living in because his ex-wife was going to come in there and live, and he wanted to make sure that she was responsible to pay those bills. So she came to the office and conducted the business, and she hasn't paid the bills. Now they're going to tap my son's property taxes, and it's going to put him in bad credit situation because I was told that because of the COVID, they couldn't, supply this information, which, if they're coming to work, they should be able to supply that information. And I'm sure if any of you is in that situation, you want to know within 2 months that this person is not paying his bill. I am a property owner also. I make sure that they come here and they sign for the water rights. I'm not going to do it for them because I'll turn it off. If they're needy, I will help them. And I think something has to happen here with the city to notify the owners in time. So I went and told her, I says, from now on, any bills coming in, send it to my address. I'll pay it. But I'm not gonna wait 16, 20 payments before I pay the bill. This bill right now is $1,590.40. It's too much for a working person to pay that, excluding me. I will help him if he needs the help. But what if it were somebody else that can't help himself? It's a simple thing. If somebody owes you money or you owe somebody money, you need to come to some kind of a conclusion to take care of this. And this is where we are right now. It's 1,500, and some people are rude when you talk to them about it because they don't want to listen to you. And they told us that the military lawyers can't do anything. Not that I want him to do anything, but he needs some kind of a representation from someplace.
Mr. City Manager, I think it would probably be worthwhile to meet with Mr. Tomasian and work through this issue. I can see multiple things going on here. I do believe, and maybe staff can correct me, that property owners do have the ability to get bills if they request that. Perhaps we need to go out once again and make that aware so that they are co-noticed along with the tenants. I think that is something that we've discussed before, and maybe we could raise that up again.
Mayor, we'll take that and run with that. We've been talking about increasing the education curve, and so we will do that as well as work with Mr. Tomasian.
Our staff will reach.
For your information, I didn't even know until now, since you spoke, that we have the right to request
Understand.
such things, Most people don't know that. Because in my opinion, if you don't pay your PG&E for 2 months, they're going to turn the electricity off. Why shouldn't this happen with the water bill?
The reason they can't shut the water off, I think has been mentioned in here before, is that there's legislation out there that prevents them from doing so. Current legislation.
That may be true, but at least notify the owner.
And I think you're raising an issue that we intend to get a little bit more information out to those.
The owner is liable.
I understand
no matter
that.
what.
Yes.
Then he should be notified.
I would agree with you.
If my son was notified, I would have paid that bill for him.
Understand.
And I'm going to. But a lot of owners are in this situation. They don't know that they can, expect some notices sent to them.
I understand that concern, and I think what we're going to do a better job of, or more complete job, is once again go out to the property owners and make them aware that they can be copied on the water bills as well.
Now, in this situation, his ex-wife that's living there, she signed the papers. Why shouldn't she be responsible for this?
That's a question I can't answer for you. That would probably be a legal question. I just don't have the ability to answer that with any kind of validity.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Our staff will be getting with you, sir.
All right. Thank you.
Yes. Mr. Burns.
Yes, Thomas Burns. So I basically came to stand in these two guys' corner a little bit here, and this is really atrocious. And so I'm going to recommend that you do not pass that resolution and put the property owner on. Under COVID, guys, you're living under communism now. So just to let you know, okay, that's the new communism platform. But definitely, I think the city should do a better job to notify the owners. And I don't think that this should be passed, okay, at all. If we got money at the city to give to, the arts and this and that, I'd rather see the city eat it than the property owner eat it. So that's my opinion on the matter. And I really think you guys are being watched on this one. And I also want to recommend to the guys that are here, you know, you should come more often. You know, it's your civic duty.
Yes, sir, please. Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, I'm in the same boat, you know, as these guys.
Can you please just give us your name?
Oh, okay. My name is Gurkirat Billing.
Thank you.
Guri Billing. Yes. So I'm in the same boat. I own a property here, which I'm renting out. So I got a notice like a month ago that, okay, my tenant stopped paying to the city. Now, I owe that like $1,800 for, you know, all that. Not just for this, I believe it's water, it's also ecology charges, I think. You know, it's, so this all happened due to COVID, right? They are getting, so I lost, like out of, they reduced my hours. So I was working for 3 days, I was off 2 days. And that my tenant did not, she was in a medical field. There was no income loss, and she stopped paying this. Although I was lucky, she was paying the rent. Although she was late, like 2 months late, you know. But eventually I learned that 2 months ago that, okay, I owe so much money, and there was no notice before that, you know. So it's totally injustice. Even if we speak it loud, it seems like it's total injustice. And it's not going to stop here. And that socialist moron going to keep this going further and further. Like the 3 months, they have given 3 more months. Now, they're not going to pay that. I'm going to pay their water bills and all the other, you know, all other charges bills, you know, the ecology. So the question is, how, if they're going to keep going, doing this thing, when is it going to stop? They're not paying, they're going to stop paying rents, and we are responsible for their bills, right? So it does not make any sense at all. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Vince Burns, and I just wanted to get up here and say I stand with these people on this issue. I think most of us all do. And correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't you say it was municipal code that it was put on the landlord, not the tenant?
That's correct.
Is that something that could be changed by our municipal code or by the code?
Municipal code does have the option, or we do have the option of modifying the municipal code. Yes.
So can't we change the municipal code to put it on the tenant instead of the landlord?
I think that's a possibility, of course. I don't know the exact history of the owner being responsible, but at some point, someone has to pay for the water.
No, I agree.
And this situation that has been, that we are finding ourselves in as a city isn't one that we totally control, as I think we've explained that.
I understand
But we
that.
still had a service that we delivered and water that was delivered, and/or sewer. In the other gentleman's case, garbage service that was delivered.
I understand that. I just wanted to stand up here and say I stand with these guys, and I think it should be changed in the municipal code to be the tenant's responsibility to pay the bill. Thank you.
Thomas Burns back again. I want to remind the council and the people that for quite a few years, the shopping cart owners were penalized for having their carts stolen, right? We remember that here. We discussed it in these chambers. And that seems to be how they do things sometimes. But they penalized, not in this council, but it was prior councils, where they penalized the owner for having his stuff stolen. And this is upside down in everybody's frame of thought on what's right and what's fair.
Any other comment from the public?
I want to say something. So my name is Suji. So I just wonder if every penalty go to the owner, and in the future, nobody want to rental house. So the Yuba City will difficult to find a house to rental. So tenants don't pay water and just let the owner to pay. I think that's unfair for owner. So we are no rich people. We still have money. We still have a lot of loan. We still need to pay a bill. We don't have too many money to pay if tenants don't pay. Okay, like this gentleman, the tenants don't pay rental, tenants don't pay water. He lost a lot of. That's really unfair for owner.
Well, this may not be a popular statement to make, but it's not fair for us to deliver the water without getting payment either, right?
Yeah.
What about shutting it off?
We can't do that because of, no, I appreciate,
That's government, the California government, but I think this policy needs change. We cannot do anything. We let you pay, and they don't want to pay. We cannot do anything. So, I have another question. Can we eviction by didn't pay water? Can we eviction people if tenants don't pay?
Mr. Mayor, can I answer that question?
yes, please.
First caveat, I represent the city. I do not represent any landlords, but the general rule is it depends on your contract. So if I were a landlord, I'd be very careful about what was in my contract and specify many things, including a deposit for utilities. I would be making sure that I receive notice on those utilities. I would put in that I could evict or withhold my security deposit as part of that process. So as between the city, the landlord, and the tenant, the person who has most control as to whether a tenant pays is the landlord, because they can adjust the contract. And in most situations, you would be able to evict if it weren't for these state laws and other things that have come in and inhibited your ability to do so. So make sure you have a very good contract.
We have contract really that tenants pay all utility. We
Yes.
have that contract. If tenants doesn't pay, like the tenants right now, 1,600 didn't pay, can we by this reason to eviction?
You may be able to evict if you're not barred by state law. The other thing is even after the tenant leaves, if they still owe you money, under your contract, you have the ability to go against them, say, in small claims court, if it's less than, I think it's $7,500, and to get a judgment against them. The city does not have that ability to enforce like the landlord does. So it may be, there's a saying, you can't get blood from a stone. Some tenants, it's not worth your time and money. They're never going to get money from them. Other ones, if you go and get a judgment and record it, that can go against them for 10 years. So if they buy any property and end up selling it, if there's any real property that they have, that judgment goes against them, and you have to eventually get paid with interest. So there are some options for you. My suggestion is if you believe that you are owed money by a tenant, look at your contract and then go to the Superior Court, and they should have a website that talks about small claims court, and you might have some options there as well. Because just because we can't shut off water doesn't mean that money's still not owed to you if you have to end up paying it.
Yeah, the thing is, if possible maintenance is okay. I just a generous question. If they living there, they didn't pay water, they live there like this gentleman, the tenant already living there 1 year, didn't pay anything. And the next year, 3 years, didn't pay anything, still living there. We cannot eviction? Can we eviction them?
Again, I can't advise you, and it depends on state law because we've had these emergency orders from COVID. But under normal circumstances, you could evict, and even if you can't evict, you can still proceed to collect against certain people. So, and that's typically done in small claims court. You may want to consult with an attorney regarding your options. I know it's more money, and I know you guys have been through tons of expenses, but it may be worth it. The other things you can do is you can report, there's certain things you would report on credit checks and for people who haven't paid you, but it depends on your contract, and it depends on the amount of money that's owed. And the general rule of thumb is if you can go to small claims court, that's great. But generally, unless you're if you're more than that $7,000 or whatever small claims court is, unless you have $30,000 or $40,000 you owe to it, it doesn't make sense to go to court. It's too expensive past that amount.
But even small claim, but he said, I don't have money, they still don't pay you. Thank you very much.
Through the mayor, city attorney, if hopefully you might know the answer, or Mr. Morrison. Going back to all the comments, I mean, I agree with the comments, Heather. Vince, it's good to see you again, sir. I haven't seen you in a while, but I also agree with what the mayor said. We have a fiduciary responsibility to the residents of the city. So, you know, we're in a quagmire, because any normal year, if the tenant's not doing things, you evict them, you're able to raise your rents. This becomes a small issue in the big scope of things. But the one part that I was just bringing up to the mayor that I want clarification on is we've been dealt a hand of cards that says you can't raise rents beyond a certain percent, you can't evict people, we can't shut off water. And then through all of this, likewise, they've come out with the cow rents or whatever it is to where you can apply. And I believe I've heard through the channels that I've had that it's not just the tenant that can apply for that the landlords can actually help and apply on behalf of the tenant to get your money back that you're missing, plus help get the utilities back that are outstanding. So I feel for your troubles, and I feel for all of you guys with what's going on. But that's a huge piece, and I'm not sure if there's anyone here, Mr. Attorney or Mr. Morrison, that can help these people with this, because it's beyond just the delinquent water fees. You guys have bigger problems that maybe we can give you some direction for what's out there at the state level.
So, Vice Mayor, there are programs available, and we can definitely research those and put them out on our website, as well as notify the folks in the audience, as well as those on the list. We don't control those. Those are county operated typically, or state operated. However, we will get the information and make sure that we share that with you. And there are a lot of generous programs out there trying to help with owners as well as renters. So I will work on that and have that out later this week.
Thank you for your help.
Thank you.
Through the mayor, Spencer, one of your slides, you had a program that we're going to apply for as a city?
It's the second bullet point that we will apply when it's available. This program is newly announced.
Okay.
I think just in the last couple of weeks, we saw it come through, and so the program isn't quite ready for use yet.
Yeah, I think that the concerns I have with this particular adoption of the resolution is that we're penalizing people that are possibly, just not the right people to be penalizing. And at one time, Thomas, you made the comment that, or Vince, I don't know who made it, but there was discussion because some of the HR 113, is that the ARPA monies, that part of those monies were also to help utilize to assist in these as cities were finding deficits in programs. So we could use some of those federal funds to offset some of the expense of this $277,000. We've had discussions about that, and I think that maybe there's an opportunity to extend the timing and work closer if some of these landlords are just finally discovering or being notified of these issues, maybe extending this for a few more months to try to resolve more of these cases and see if we have monies through some of our federal funding that we receive to offset some of the expenses. I truly don't think that penalties is something that we could quickly work with those landlords that, present themselves. But I'm just not in support of how the full recommendation is just loaded towards the landlords and understanding the complexities of the tenants and the relationship with landlords at this point.
what would be, a follow-up to Councilwoman Espindola's comments, what would be if we delayed this a bit to do a little more research in regards to, I don't remember the numbers now, it's been a bit, in regards to how many of these property owners, I hate to use the word legitimately, but are impacted by our inability to shut the water off because the bill wasn't paid. I mean, is there a way for us, Katrina or Spencer, to figure that out?
The speaker.
Not with 100% certainty, no. I mean, we can make our best guess as to why things happened, but I do know that most of the accounts on the list this year, opposed to 2019, are active accounts. Whereas in previous years, they're closed accounts where we couldn't get collection on final bills. So that tells me that it has a lot to do with COVID and not doing shut-offs because, various reasons.
I mean, the bills aren't going to go away if we take a little bit of time to do a little bit more research and figure out.
No, but what we are up against is the deadline with the county. I have to have this submitted the first week of August.
Okay.
So.
To get it on this tax roll.
And if we missed that deadline, would it just then be moved over till the next tax roll?
Next year.
1 year.
Okay.
And these bills continue to grow every single month, as someone mentioned. These are all active accounts, so they continue to grow.
Right, but at this particular point in time, the municipal code, and it's not going to get changed here tonight, can't legally, requires the owners to be the responsible party.
Right.
What I guess I'm trying to figure out is if we take a little time, figure out how many of these cases that we actually have with property owners who, and I'm not putting you on the spot here, how many are just becoming aware that their tenants haven't paid with these $1,400, $1,800 bills that, and I know you've been working on payment plans, et cetera, with some of those folks.
Right.
It just seems that this isn't something that a lot of them created. This is something that's being created by, Sacramento. And I'd like to see if we can't maybe help them a bit navigate through this. I mean, there's at least two examples here tonight that it would appear to me got caught in a situation that I understand.
Yeah, and in those cases, I would more encourage to reach out to us directly so we can set up secondary plans with them.
Right. But we also have this other thing that's orbiting out there, which may be some financial assistance. I guess my only concern is a property owner may not qualify if it's a low-income thing. It may be, and those I just don't know the answer to those questions.
There is the active program, Housing is Key, that's been active for several months now, and that is open for tenants for the utility relief, but it's also for property owners to go and get rent relief, and I would love to see more people take advantage of that. We've had flyers going around for months now. It's on our website. There's funding out there that's available.
So we had something like 219 of these cases. Is that correct? Was that how many delinquent bills you said that were out there?
No, it's more than that. I think there's 238 or 242.
Okay.
Yeah, it's down less than that. We've had quite a few payments this week and payment plans, so it's down around 220 now.
Katrina, do you know how long once, let's say a landlord or a tenant applies, how long does the turnaround for the state to notify, because we know how long they take, to notify that they qualify and payments, going to happen? Do you know how long that period is taking?
Yeah, the one that we were notified of, I think it was a 3 to 4 week turnaround for the tenant to find out they were approved.
Okay.
And we haven't seen the funds yet. And that was at the beginning of this process, so it's been probably another 3 weeks.
And do we still continue to penalize even if we know that they're approved, those penalties still being added or not?
We haven't done any penalties since February of 2020.
Okay. All right, thanks. So the process takes up to 3 to 4 weeks, and then when the check lands in
And
it takes another 2 or 3 weeks after that?
I think to follow up to that question, we move them onto a pending payment plan file so that they are removed. If they let us know that they're approved, we moved them to a pending status and they are not on the lien list.
Can I have one more question? My situation is the extra tenants earn money and they didn't pay. And right now current tenant cannot transfer his name to the house. The city don't allow my right now tenant to transfer. So he pay utility water bill is under my name. Is it possible city allow him transfer his name on the house, on the rental house?
I don't think that's going to solve your problem, but
Not knowing the specifics of your account, but typically when it's required to stay in a property owner's name, it's because there's previous debt history at the account, and we do not allow future tenants to sign up for service in their name. We do allow for a duplicate copy of the bill to go to the tenant, but they are not allowed to put it in their name primarily.
The problem is if under my name, he cannot application the assistant, low income, the assistant.
If he has a dual on the account, he does get a copy of the bill, and that would be sufficient.
Oh, he cannot? He can do that?
If he has a dual, yeah.
Oh, okay, thank you.
you're doing a good job, Katrina. Thanks. Okay. Any other comments from the council?
One question, Mr.
Yeah, please, go.
Katrina, under those 220 accounts, is all of that debt really just occurred during the last, 18, 19 months of COVID, or do they go back prior to that?
There's a handful that are older than that from previous sign-outs that haven't been liened yet that still have the same owner. But that's maybe 10 accounts.
So the vast majority of this is during this pandemic time? Okay.
It seems to me, and this is just for consideration, and it's taken into consideration to the public comments that you raised, Councilwoman Espandola, a quick conversation over here as well, is that we have this $250,000, I guess, out there that is delinquent. I'm sure some of that is probably what I would consider to be true delinquent, and I would say a good portion of that may be folks that are caught in the situations that we've talked about. I would like the council to discuss maybe pushing this off for a bit. I realize that there's an August 1st deadline, but I think that there are some programs out there that might help us navigate through some of this stuff and provide some relief to the property owners. But I also know that there, some of those situations are legit. What we would be potentially missing is the revenue, but there's no guarantee that we're going to get that revenue until there's the tax liens are paid anyway, which could be a long time. I don't know. Thoughts?
Through the mayor. There's a lot of looming deadlines ahead of us. We've got a thing happening mid-September that could change California's landscape. Then you got the rent moratorium that's supposed to end possibly September 30. The program I was talking about earlier was the COVID-19 rent relief program. And I go back to where we've been through COVID itself. And this city and this council has taken an education approach really from day one, from educating our business owners and such. So my question or suggestion would be, can we use this as an education opportunity, Mr. Vaughn, to help those 220 property owners through an education process of giving them the time to apply if they're eligible through the COVID-19 rent relief to not only collect what needs to come to the city, but what they're due as well, because it benefits the entire city as a whole, because it's not just $250,000 in utility fees. You've got, anywhere from 12 to 17 or 19 months worth of rent. They've probably been carrying on mortgages. There's all kinds of things going. And one thing that was always questioned when the governor did his moratorium on the collection of rents was, you can't collect them, but nobody ever said they weren't going to come due one day. So we still got that, shoe to drop at some point. My suggestion would be, in light of everything that we have, and the city is in a good place right now because of all the hard work we've done the last few years as a council, is let's give it the next several months for this to really work itself out. Because as you said, we can always tack it on to next year's tax roll. And that gives not only the city time to work through it, but it gives the property owners time to work on it as well. That's just my 2 cents worth.
I concur.
If I may, I think that does make sense, the education approach. It's in line with what we've already demonstrated that we're willing to do in this case. And $250,000, why it's not a small amount of money in the bigger picture, I think we have some room to do more of the right thing. That Katrina, you've already done quite a bit of effort to keep folks, like Spencer said in the very beginning, you put a lot of work to keep people from on this list to begin with. I know it just doesn't happen. There's a lot of opportunity to remove them. Some people have taken advantage of that. And landlords, it's true. When you go into a business as a landlord, you take risk. This is one of them. However, I think we do have the opportunity to maybe enlighten some folks who maybe weren't aware of more options that are out there, up to and maybe including considering our ordinance. As a former landlord myself, I had a really difficult time with being responsible for this. Anyway, when people didn't pay their bill, I didn't think it was right that I had to cover it. It's a lot cleaner that we add it to the tax bill. It's a lot cleaner for us, but sometimes the right thing is not the cleanest way to do it. And so, although very much appreciation of the work that you do and the efforts you do in communicating the programs and the relief that's available for landlords and tenants, I think, given what we've heard tonight, it would be a good idea to extend it out a few months. We can wait a year for $250,000, particularly when we have other opportunities to gain the money back. I am not in favor of handing these tenants who are intentionally delinquent the money and say, that's okay. I would like to try to figure out a way to deal with that and make them accountable, but I also don't want to unduly burden our landlords because it's not their fault.
I'm good. Thank you, gentlemen.
I think you have some direction from us. I would prefer not to move ahead with the public hearing and just push this, but that seems to be consensus as well.
Okay, so I think what staff is hearing is that you did conduct a public hearing, but the comments that you heard, you're not moving forward with the item. You're deferring that and directing staff to provide further education to the folks on this list as well as others to try and educate them and give them the ability to get recovery either for rent, but also more importantly, an opportunity to learn more about how to get, the proper, bills paid and how that works with those folks. And so staff will take that direction and move forward and provide an update to the council in 45 days.
I think I would add to that, and hopefully not too much of a burden, is maybe a little bit of history of the why of the municipal code and why it was placed on the property owner. I'm sure there was good reasoning there. I'm assuming there was. It would be interesting to know more about that rather than make a snap judgment on that.
We're happy to provide that. Mayor also recognized that our garbage vendor also provides services and also has lien capabilities through the same ownership and municipal code process. So we'll bring that back for report and update.
Okay. Thanks. Thank both of you. Thank you to the speakers. Yeah.
I know we're done talking about it, but I learned the hard way on this. In some cases, this is why some apartment buildings or some landlords, they include water and trash in the rent, and they pay the water and trash out of the rent to avoid things like this. It's just maybe a consideration. They bump the rent up a little bit to cover that, an option.
In that case, if they are not paying rent, then you are in the same boat.
Well, we think that some of these state-imposed things are going to be lifted. And then again, that's back to the landlord, and it's not something that we're involved with the water and the sewer rates. Okay, we're going to move to item number 19, which is levying assessments for Yuba City Landscape Maintenance District Number 1, Stabler Lane, Garden Highway area. I need to recuse myself as I live within this district, so I will be passing this item off to the Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Do we need to take a 5-minute recess for fluid adjustment? Then we will take a 5-minute recess, and we will reconvene with item number 19 at 8:24. All right, there we go. Okay, we'll bring the meeting back to order. We're on agenda item 19, levying assessments for Yuba City Landscape Maintenance District 1, Stabler Lane Garden Highway area, and that's be presented by Diana Langley, our Public Works Director.
Good evening, Vice Mayor and Council. The next 3 items are related to our lighting and landscape maintenance districts. District number 1 is a landscape maintenance district only. It's comprised of 2 areas. You have District 1A, which is in the Stabler Lane area. So here's Stabler Lane, here's Jamie Drive. And then 1B is in the Garden Highway area. And then we've had some additional additions of some commercial properties. So this is part of our annual process to levy the property so that they pay for the ongoing maintenance of the landscaping within those areas. The assessments were approved by the property owners of record at the time. I do want to note that zones of benefit A and B do not have provisions for a cost of living adjustment, and so these rates have been set for quite a few years now and have not been adjusted. The newer zones of benefit in District B do have cost of living adjustments. So for some background, on June 15th, Council ordered the engineer of work to file a report for the district, and on July 6th, Council adopted a resolution approving the engineer's report and a resolution of intention to order the improvements setting the public hearing for tonight. The engineer's annual report has been prepared, is on file at the city clerk's office. In previous years, as council recalls, expenditures exceeded the revenues for District 1B. Last year, council provided direction to reduce those expenditures to keep them within the amount required for the revenues. And so for this past year, we've been able to do that. And so as you can see from this table, the District 1A, the revenues are $22,007. The expenditures are just barely underneath that amount, and we have a projected reserve fund balance as of next July of $1,476. For 1B, the revenues are $66,250. The expenditures are $57,276. And then we have a reserve fund balance of $49,252. This reserve fund balance is due to previous allocations of road funds and general fund. We're recommending to keep this fund balance in here, as you never know what could happen with the district. And there might be needs to do some additional maintenance here and there. So alternatives are to direct the modification of the assessments amount. You can always assess less than, you just can't assess more than what was previously approved. You could also direct staff to start the proceedings for a Proposition 218 process to increase those rates. As mentioned previously, last year council directed staff to keep the expenditures lower than the revenues, or you could direct staff to supplement the revenues with additional funding from other sources. So the recommendation tonight is to conduct a public hearing and then adopt a resolution confirming and ordering the annual levy of assessments for fiscal year 2021/22 pursuant to the Landscaping Lighting Act of 1972. With that, I'd be happy to answer questions.
Is there any questions from the council? Okay, hearing none, we will go ahead and conduct the public hearing. The public hearing on the levying assessment for Yuba City Landscape Maintenance District Number 1, Stabler Lane Garden Highway area is now open. If there are any members of the public who would like to address the council on this issue, please provide your statement via public comment and state your name and address for the record. Is there anyone here that would like to go on the record and speak?
This is, my name's Thomas Burns. Just for a question, really, and for my own education. So when it comes to the lighting and stuff in the city, we pay that out, I mean, the city pays it out to probably the utility, right? And then it's assessed in the tax roll to the people? Is that how that works?
Right. So typically when new subdivisions come forward, they're required to participate in a lighting and landscape maintenance district. So the amounts collected related to the lighting helps us pay the PG&E bill and also the ongoing maintenance related to the streetlight. The assessments collected related to the landscaping goes to pay towards, we have a landscape contractor that does the landscaping of a lot of the majority of the landscaping, and then our parks crew does maintenance of the street trees as well. And so you'll see with the next district, it includes about 69 subdivisions throughout the city. Not the entire city is not subject to these. It's very specific portions where the property owners, as part of development, agree to pay these fees.
All right, any other questions? Hearing none in the room, do we have any public comment for the public hearing online?
No comment.
Okay, hearing none and no further comments, we will close the public hearing and bring it back to the council for action.
I move the adoption, pardon me, go ahead, Council.
Councilwoman Espindola?
Yes, I move to adopt the resolution confirming and ordering the annual levy of assessments for fiscal 2021 pursuant to Landscape Lighting Act of 1972.
I have a motion and
Second.
I have a second from Councilmember Kirschner. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. So we will move on to agenda item 20, and we've gone to get Mr. Mayor. And I will hand over the gavel, and I will have to recuse myself from this item as I live within that district.
Did we ever just, me too? Right, me too, all right.
Councilmember Harris, Vice Mayor Shaw, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Item 20.
All right, good evening, Mayor. So similar to the last district, this is Yuba City Lighting and Landscape Maintenance Districts number 2 through 6. And so similarly, this district was formed in agreement with the property owners. What's different about this one is that a cost of living adjustment was included. Again, for background, council took previous action on June 15th and July 6th. The engineer's reports are on file in the city clerk's office. Districts 2, 4, 5, and 6. So 2 is the town square area, 4 and 5 are residential subdivisions, and 6 is a commercial district. They will see increases in their annual levies, with the exception of in District 5, zones of benefit C and J will see a decrease, and then District 3 will also see a decrease in their annual levy. Here's the fiscal impact. You can see that the revenues for each district exceed the expenditures. Also, there's healthy reserve balances in each of the districts. The alternatives are to direct the modification of the assessment amounts or cancel the districts and find alternative funding sources, which staff does not recommend. And so the recommendation tonight is to conduct the public hearing and then adopt a resolution confirming and ordering the annual levy of assessments for these districts. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Diana. Any questions from the council? Comments from the public? Comments online?
No comments.
Public hearing for the levying assessments for Yuba City Lighting and Landscaping Maintenance Districts number 2, 3, 4, and 5, Town Center, and 69 subdivisions throughout Yuba City, and Yuba City Lighting and Landscape Maintenance District number 6, Commercial District is now open. If there are any members of the public who would like to address the council on this issue, please provide your statement via public comment, state your name and address for the record. Do we have any comments from the public on this item? I've checked that. Hearing no further comment on this issue, unless somebody else all of a sudden has a question. I'm closing the public hearing, bringing the matter back to the council.
Through the mayor,
Sir.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt a resolution confirming and ordering the annual levying of assessments for fiscal year 21-22 for the Yuba City Lighting and Landscape Maintenance Districts numbers 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, Town Center, 69 subdivisions throughout Yuba City, including the Palacios subdivisions and Butte Business Neighborhood and Commercial District.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second by, motions by Councilperson Kirchner, second by Councilwoman Espandola. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes. Item 21, could we retrieve our... Item 21.
All right. This district is different in that it's a residential streetlight maintenance district. It's for streetlights only. These areas were originally part of the county, and then when the city annexed these areas into the city, then the city took over the maintenance districts as well. And so you have the Tierra Buena area, and then you also have the Walton area. Again, council took previous action on June 15th and July 6th. The reports have been filed with the city clerk. And you can see the fiscal impact of this one with the Tierra Buena area. The revenues are slightly less than the projected expenditures, and that's because we have such a large fund balance that we are going to spend down that fund balance a little bit. And then for the Walton area, you can see the revenues versus the expenditures, but you will note that we do have a negative fund balance, so we're slowly chipping away at that. There's some work that needs to be done with PG&E because the Walton area used to have a large surplus, and a few years ago that switched, and so we need to do a full audit of these districts to find out what's happening with the billing. With these particular streetlights, it's maintained by PG&E, not the city, and so these assessments are truly to pay the PG&E bill. Alternatives are to modify the assessment amounts, cancel the districts, or direct staff to proceed with the Prop 218 process, as these districts do not have cost of living adjustments. And with that, the recommendation is to conduct a public hearing and adopt a resolution confirming and ordering the annual levy of assessments.
Mr. City Attorney, can I ask you a question? My script asks me to ask for public comments, then we open up the public hearing, and then I ask for public comments again.
You don't need public comments twice. Just open up the hearing.
Okay.
You can do it. You're just not required to do it.
Okay. Thank you. I've been waiting to ask that question. All right. The public hearing for levying assessments for Yuba City residential streetlight maintenance districts, Walton and Tierra Buena areas is now open. If there are any members of the public who would like to address the council on this issue, please provide your statement via public comment. State your name and address for the record. Do we have any comments from the public on this item? Seeing none, how about online?
None.
Okay. Hearing no further comment on this issue, I'm closing the public hearing, bringing the matter back to our city council.
Through the mayor, I just wanted to clarify. So we believe that the PG&E may be err on the billing for the Walton area. Do you think that that's why we have a deficit?
Well, we need to do an audit of both districts to make sure that there's not some commingling taking place, or to also make sure that the lights that are in that district are actually part of that district, and then to also look at the rates as well.
Yeah, it would be interesting to, once you just figure that out, if you can share that information to the council. I would be interested in knowing if PG&E is overcharging us or what's going on.
Or maybe there was a mistake previously that they figured out.
Exactly.
This is the correct.
Yeah.
But we need to do some further
We need to
investigation.
adjust, to get to that, so find out what's going on. Thank you.
Through the mayor.
Yes, sir.
I apologize. I probably should have asked this before. Diana, it says Walton area?
Mm-hmm.
Where exactly are you talking about?
So here's the map of the Walton area. So you have Walton Avenue right here. So it's everything on the west side of Walton in these shaded areas.
On the west side of Walton?
Yes.
Okay.
So here's Lincoln Road. Here's Cherry Street.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Through the mayor.
Yes.
I move that we adopt a resolution confirming and ordering the annual levy of assessments for fiscal year 2021-22 within Yuba City Residential Street Light Maintenance District 1, Terra Buena, and Residential Street Light Maintenance District 1, Walton area.
Second.
I have a motion by Vice Mayor Shaw, second by Councilperson Espandola. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. Item 21 passes unanimously. Item 22, Community Facilities Districts.
Well, because we haven't talked about community facilities districts enough, we needed to bring it back tonight and one more time after this. So tonight is the formation of CFD 2021-1. I'll wait for Judy to bring up the presentation. You're welcome. So on July 6th, Council adopted 3 resolutions which collectively established CFD 2021-1 in a future annexation area, declared and certified the results of an election, and authorized the levy of a special tax within the district. Per the Melrose Community Facilities Act of 1982, Council must adopt an ordinance authorizing the levy of the special tax. So while Council considered adopting the ordinance was not formally introduced at that time. So tonight we are formally introducing it and requesting to waive the reading and hold a public hearing introducing the ordinance at this time. So once this action takes place tonight, we would bring it back on August 17th, which is our next regularly scheduled meeting, to adopt the ordinance. And with that, are there any questions?
Questions from the council? Okay. Comments from the public? Comments online?
No comments.
Okay. Bring it back to the council for action.
Through the chair, I motion to waive the reading and introduce an ordinance authorizing the levy of special tax with CFD 2021-1.
I have a motion by Councilperson Espandola, second by Councilperson Harris. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, number 22 passes unanimously. Number 23, 2020 Urban Water Management Plan and Water Shortage Contingency Plan. Ms. Langley.
Yes, before I get started, I would like to introduce Greg Young of Tully & Young. He's with us virtually on the screen. And Tully & Young is the firm that prepared the city's Urban Water Management Plan and Water Shortage Contingency Plan. Here's a picture of our draft 2020 Urban Water Management Plan. So the Urban Water Management Planning Act was signed into law in 1983 and requires urban water suppliers serving over 3,000 customers to prepare and adopt an urban water management plan every 5 years. So our last plan was adopted in 2016 for the year of 2015. Since then, the legislature has amended the act to require additional details in urban water management plans, including addressing resilience to drought and climate change, demonstrate water supply reliability in a normal year, single dry year, and droughts lasting 5 years over a 20-year planning horizon. And the Urban Water Management Plan provides a water management planning foundation outlining the city's past and current, as well as projected future water supply and demand conditions. This table reflects the city's 4 surface water supplies. So we have State Water Resources Control Board License 13855, of which we have an annual allotment of 6,500 acre feet, and the time of use is September through June. State Water Resources Control Board Permit 18558, in which we have an annual allotment of 9,000 acre feet. Time of use is October through June. North Yuba Water District Contract, of which we have 4,500 acre feet. Typically, we utilize this as our summer supply. And then we have we're DWR State Water Contractors, because we participate in the State Water Project. So we have 9,600 acre feet, and that can be utilized year round. In addition, we have a backup groundwater well at the water treatment plant that supplies approximately 1,200 acre feet, which we can utilize as needed. Historically, we only bring that well online during drought situations. So there's a couple of things that I want to note, that the North Yuba Water District Agreement remains in effect through December 31st, 2035. The representatives of the district and the city will meet sometime between December 31st, 2032 and June 1st, December 31st, 2031, June 1st, 2032, to discuss the potential to further extend the agreement. The 2012 rate at the time was $70 per acre foot. The current rate is $70 per acre foot plus the CPI for the December proceeding. So right now it's close to $90 per acre foot. The district and the city intend that the prices that the city pays the district for water made available under this agreement during 2026 through 2035 will be set to reflect the market prices for similar long-term water sales during these periods. The district and the city will meet in 2024 to attempt to reach agreement on the prices that will apply. Similar long-term water sales will mean sales of water under agreements with terms greater than 1 year to municipal water purveyors where the agreements were executed sometime between January 1st, 2015 and December 31st, 2024. So what does all of that mean? We're currently paying just under about $90 an acre foot. Per our contract with them, we will begin discussions in 2024 to set the price for the remaining 10 years of the contract. What's so important about that is we're going to be using similar contracts that were formed between 2015 and 2024. Well, we're in a drought. Water is a very expensive commodity right now. And so just to prepare council and our customers that we're not going to be getting water for just under $90 an acre foot. And so it's really important to keep that in mind as we move forward. And this is also a contract that we pay for the water regardless of whether or not we use it. With the Department of Water Resources State Water Project, our 2022 statement of charges, so the bill that they're projecting for 2022, is $1,027,807. So the other thing about the DWR State Water Project is even though we show 9,600 acre feet, in actuality, our allocation, our average allocation is about 68%, and as of, for 2021, we're at 5%. And again, this is a contract that we pay the full amount regardless of the amount of water that we receive.
I have a quick question. Do you mind?
Go ahead.
Do we use that 30,800?
So on paper, we have 30,800. In terms of actuality of what we have available, it's less than that, and I'll go into that in this next slide. There's several reasons for that. Part of that is because these water supplies are available during non-summer uses when your water demand's lower, and so we don't typically maximize these, and we don't pay for these license or permit, but we don't typically maximize our allotment of water under this permit and license. For North Yuba Water District, yes, we do typically use the full amount. And then for DWR State Water Project, like I said, the last few years, it's fluctuated quite a bit in terms of availability. So that one, the amount that we get, we do try to bank into carryover water so that we have that insurance supply as we go into dry years. And so this one's really important for us because it does tend to provide an insurance policy. So in my next table, you'll see what we're predicting to have under, we look at the single dry year, normal year, and then also 5 years of drought.
Follow-up question. Let's just use the 9,000 acre feet in October through June. If we don't use all of that, do we still pay for the full allotment or only what we use?
So we don't pay for the State Water Resource Control Board license or permit.
We just
only
have that.
pay for North Yuba Water District
Okay.
and the DWR.
So conceivably, and you talked about bank, and hopefully I'm not getting too far ahead of you here. If we wanted to build our own storage to have water, is that cost effective or not?
It will get to a point that it is.
Okay,
Yes,
sorry.
that's okay. And for reference purposes, how much water we used last year was about 15,600 acre feet. We're on track to utilize about that same amount for this year. With my next presentation related to water conservation, if people conserve the 15% that's recommended, then that amount would decrease, which would hopefully allow us to retain some of the carryover water that we have, because right now we're projecting to utilize a good portion of our carryover water to meet this year's demands. Okay. So under a normal year, and you can see that the planning horizon goes out to 2045, our supply is 28,928 acre feet. The demand goes from about 15,000 acre feet up to just under 18,000 acre feet. And so that you can see under a normal year, we have enough water to serve the city under these. And there's in the urban water management plan, there are projections for population increases, so that takes that into account as they are determining the volume of water to be utilized. Under a single dry year, you can see that under a single dry year, the supply amount decreases, and that's based upon assumptions in terms of curtailments of the State Water Resources Control Board permit, as well as availability of water under the DWR State Water Project. Again, the demand is different, but overall, you can see even under a single dry year that we have sufficient water. And we've seen that historically too, you know. And then as you get into this one might be a little bit difficult to read, but this looks at 5 years of a drought, 5 consecutive dry years from 2025 to 2045. And what's important under this one, the sweepy allocation is estimated to be 45% in year 1, 30% in year 2, 5% in year 3, 15% in year 4, and 30% in year 5. And this mirrors pretty closely what happened in the 2013 to 2016 drought in terms of the sweepy allocations. So even with those reduced supplies, you can see that we still, even at year 5, we still have sufficient water to be able to serve demands. But there's a caveat to that. Through active management, the city has reliable water supplies available for its service area through 2045. This is going to require coordinated management between the city and our contract partners, so DWR North Yuba Water District, in order to render the supply reliable in all year types through 2045. It's also going to require that we consider projects for implementation to maximize those water supplies. So as the mayor noted in terms of storage, rather than build huge above ground storage tanks, we would build below ground storage in the aquifers. And so there's an aquifer that's about 450 feet down. That's a fairly confined aquifer that doesn't move very much in any given year, so it's pretty stable. What happens is you would bring water through the water treatment plant during the non-summer months to really maximize those non-summer supplies, inject them into the aquifer, and it almost creates an underground storage reservoir so that during the summer months, you can then pull that water back out and then run it through your treatment plant and put it into your distribution system. It's still surface water. It's not groundwater, but it allows you to fully maximize that permit and license so that we can get the benefit of the amount that we're entitled to. Another big thing would be to recirculate water treatment plant process water. We lose quite a bit of water just through the treatment plant process, through backwashing and things like that. So to be able to recirculate that, bring it back through the front end of the plant, treat it, that would also help. And then also continue to address water losses within the distribution system. On a separate note, we were also required to comply with SBX 7-7, which is a 2020 urban water use target. It required a reduction of statewide average per capita daily water consumption of 20% by December 31st, 2020. I'm happy to show that our 2020 target was 192 gallons per capita per day, and our actual is 179 gallons per capita per day. And so, with that previous drought, customers really changed their water habits, and also with the implementation of a lot of low flow appliances and things like that, we've seen an overall reduction in that per capita use. So before I move on to the water shortage contingency plan, are there any questions related to the urban water management plan? And I will say this is in draft form. We will be continuing to make minor modifications as we find, spelling things or, additional clarification, but the intent is to submit it to the Department of Water Resources fairly soon.
Through the mayor, Diana, when you were talking about DWR and what was the other one for the state permit?
A State Water Resources Control Board.
Right. So could there be changes in those permits based on how severe the drought, if hopefully it doesn't happen, but if it keeps at this stage and keeps going, could there be implications from the state to reduce some of those allowances that we have at this time?
Yeah, and I'll attempt to answer this, and then Greg might want to chime in on this one as well. Definitely with the permit, that one is subject to more curtailments than the license, and we've seen that one curtailed. Is typically in this type of situation where it's a drier year in late March, early April, where you'll receive the notice that you can no longer draw water under that permit. The license has definitely been more stable, and it's based upon the time for which you applied for that State Water Resources Control Board use. And so, you know, that's the short answer. Greg, would you like to add to that response?
Yeah, sure. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Just to build a little bit on what Diana said, that right now the state is essentially curtailing everything that's post-1914 issued water rights on seniority, but both your water supplies are not typically available across the summer months anyway, and so you don't rely on those typically. And in the analysis we put together for a dry condition, we represented those as being even less reliable and less available across the months of summer. And so that's consistent with how we've represented it in the plan is what you're really seeing in this year. So it's not a water supply you're relying on, as Diana noted. The carryover water you have in storage, which is in paper, is actually in San Luis Reservoir, down outside of it's south of Tracy and south of Patterson, but in actuality it comes out of Oroville and gets exchanged. That is the water you are going to be relying upon most of this year, but you want to try and manage as much of that into next year in case next year is dry, and that's the goal at this point.
All right, so any other questions on the urban water management plan? Okay. Then I will move on to the water shortage contingency plan. So the water shortage contingency plan addresses possible conditions in which the water supply available to customers is insufficient to meet the normally expected customer water use. It describes the city's strategy for allocating water during such water supply shortages while assuring customers that at all times it will meet the minimum health and safety requirements of a drinking water purveyor. There's quite a few required elements of a water shortage contingency plan. Here, I've got 2 pages just outlining the required elements. You have to look at your water supply reliability. It established 6 standard water shortage levels, which I'll go into, your communication protocols, also description of legal authorities, monitoring and reporting requirements, special water feature distinction. And so it's a good portion of the urban water management plan, but it's also meant to be a standalone document as well. So the 6 stages that were identified as part of the plan include stages 1 through 6. So it varies from water alert at stage 1, which is up to 10% conservation target. Stage 2 is up to 20%, which is a water warning. Stage 3 is up to 30%, which is a severe shortage. Stage 4 is up to 40%, which is a critical shortage. Stage 5 is up to 50%, which is a water crisis. And then greater than 50%, which is a water emergency. And I'd just like to note, this doesn't necessarily have to do with the drought. This could be related to, there's a catastrophic event that limits our availability of drawing water from the river. There's a lot of different circumstances that could lead to needing to implement the water shortage contingency plan. So with stage 1, the plan calls for an introductory stage 1 drought response, during which customers are informed of possible shortages and asked to voluntarily conserve 10%. In addition, customers are prohibited from wasting water or unreasonably using water for beneficial purposes. Under stage 2, the city will encourage community-oriented voluntary conservation measures, enforce conservation measures, and implement mandatory water use reduction measures to decrease demand by up to 20%. Stage 3 includes all of the actions under stage 1 and 2 and is focused on continuing to encourage customers to voluntarily reduce water use for turf watering, filling pools, etc., and may include additional mandatory watering restrictions. Stage 4 includes everything leading up to that point, but intensifies implementation and enforcement. Stage 5 is, the primary focus of stage 5 is to ensure the protection of the water supply for all public health and safety purposes. And then stage 6 requires only use of water for human health and safety purposes. A water shortage declaration would be made by resolution of the City Council, as we will be requesting of the next item on the agenda, and administrative discretion is delegated to the Public Works Director under the direction of the City Manager. So with all of that said, supply augmentation actions that we are currently doing to, just as part of this current situation that we're in, is water treatment plant backup well. We have that operational well at the water treatment plant that can provide about 1,200 acre feet. We also have wells 5, 8, and 9, which are in the distribution system that they haven't been in operation for about 10 years, so we're getting those back operational. So should we need to, we could turn those on and blend the groundwater with the surface water in the distribution system. We also have an emergency intertie with Cal Water that goes through the new Fifth Street Bridge. And that could, in an emergency situation, be turned on to supply water to either jurisdiction. Aquifer storage recovery, that is something that we would like to pursue. And in fact, we are soliciting proposals right now for the installation of a second groundwater well at the water treatment plant that we would want to convert in the future to aquifer storage recovery. And then another option is to reduce water system pressure. That's not an option that we like. It would be a minor reduction of the water system pressure because we still have to maintain flows for fire service. So for compliance and enforcement, this is something that unfortunately we had to do in the last route. So under a first violation, you receive a written warning. A second violation, it's a $50 surcharge added to the next monthly water bill. A third violation is $100, and then fourth and subsequent violations are $250. And what happens is we have staff that do water patrol, where they go out and look for properties that are in violation of the emergency water restrictions. They take time-stamped photos and date-stamped, and so the resident can see that their address with the timestamp that they were watering or doing something that they're not supposed to be doing. The photos attached to the letter that is sent to the person to whom the water bill is sent, notifying them of the violation and giving them 1 week to make the necessary adjustments. And then if a second or subsequent violation is issued, that's when they receive the surcharges. Another important thing to note is groundwater. Many of the city's parks, particularly the larger parks, are irrigated with groundwater, and some property owners have wells for irrigation. So those properties may not be subject to the same mandatory watering restrictions or subject to the mandatory watering restrictions at all. At the parks, we've asked Brad McIntyre's coordinating with his department to evaluate the irrigation systems at all of the parks, as well as the street medians and landscape strips, to make sure that we're not wasting water as a city. But they will also be posting signs at the parks that are irrigated with the groundwater to let our residents know that those parks are irrigated with groundwater. With the special water feature distinction, this is important because special water features are a relatively small discretionary use, but they can have a big impact on the community. And so we've tried to provide some discretion in there in terms of when special water features have to be turned off. For instance, the splash pads at Shanghai Garden Park and then Regency Park, council would have the discretion to be able to keep those operational up to a certain point, recognizing the public benefit compared to the nominal usage associated with those water features. So the fiscal impact: without an approved urban water management plan, the city may not be eligible to receive grants, loans, or drought assistance through DWR. An alternative would be to conduct a public hearing and direct staff to make modifications to the urban water management plan and/or the water shortage contingency plan. And so the recommendation tonight is to conduct a public hearing, adopt a resolution adopting the 2020 urban water management plan, and then also adopt a resolution adopting the water shortage contingency plan. And with that, I'd be happy to answer questions.
Council questions for Diana?
Through the mayor. Diana, since we just had that long conversation with the delinquent accounts, right?
Yes.
And noticing that you have those penalties for water, and let's say one of these folks, they're not paying us, they're going to water as much as they want. How are we going to distinguish that penalty again? Because we just talked about that for at length. So
yeah, I will say, so we're not at the point that we're doing the enforcement at all. We're not doing that. And when we did in the previous drought, actually we obtain a lot of compliance. It's not intentional, I think, for many of our customers that they're trying to waste water. It's either they didn't know they had a broken sprinkler head, or they didn't know that they're not supposed to water on that day. And so with that first violation, they get the written warning. A lot of people correct it there. Also, you know, when people, if they have more violations, we really listen to what happened. There's a lot of reasons why those violations continue, and so we try to be very thoughtful in terms of how we proceed with, you know, putting those surcharges on the bills. And so if you were to go back and look at the last drought, we actually did not end up having to do very many surcharges. I will note there was one customer that I don't know what was going on, but it was multiple notices, and continued. But that person was very, very rare.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Anybody else? Okay. The public hearing for the 2020 Urban Water Management Plan and Water Shortage Contingency Plan is now open. If there are any members of the public who would like to address the council on this issue, please provide your statement via public comment. State your name and address for the record. Do we have any comments from the public on this item?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
My name is Thomas Burns. Okay. So I want to say that I'm opposed to that prospect that she said where they're going to take your wastewater and reuse it.
No, that wasn't one of the items that was
No?
up there, no.
Can you clarify that? There was one section where you talked about.
So the aquifer storage recovery,
Not that, no, it wasn't that. It was another. It had to do with reusing the water supply.
the backwash water at the water treatment plant? Okay. So the backwash water at the water treatment plant is actually, as we are treating the water, the surface water that comes through the plant, the water goes through filters, and so those filters collect a lot of debris, that type of thing. We backwash those filters to clean them. That water currently goes into ponds where it percolates and evaporates. Instead of going into ponds, we would collect it and run it back through the treatment process so that we can fully capture and reuse that water. It's not wastewater in the sense of sanitary sewer wastewater.
Well, I'm glad you clarified that because I am totally opposed to that program, okay? But I've heard people speculate on it, on using that. But for me, there's been wars fought over water, okay? And there's been huge amount of commotion over water. It's huge. And I believe that one of the greatest weapons in the world is controlling the water supply. So I also did quite a lot of study on water, and I believe you might find this hard to believe, okay? But I don't find it too hard to believe myself. But I believe there is weather warfare out there. I believe it's been used in the past on other nations. We know that for a fact. And it may very well be being used on us, okay? Weather warfare. You might do a little research on that for yourself. There's also the document called Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars. Quite an interesting read. So right now I feel like we're being hit on every side. Wildfires, drought, COVID, the COVID communist program. So anyway, also, when I brush my teeth these days, I turn the faucet off, okay? And I'm one for conserving water. I already knew this was coming down the pipeline. But I do not plan to let my grass die and go to a total brown, scorched earth policy. So I want to say this. I have 2 videos on my phone. Okay. One of them is at the beloved Richland Housing Center. Okay. I go by there in the morning, and you got a huge pressure and a sprinkler head going sky high for days and days on end, and just running down the gutter constantly. Where is your maintenance guy? Asleep at the wheel. Okay. Over here at the base of the 10th Street Bridge. Okay, and I've got the video, so if you want to watch it, it's available to you. So at the base of the 10th Street Bridge, you have coming into Yuba City, you know the spot where all the deadbeats panhandle right there. Anybody familiar with that spot? There's a little triangle there where the traffic goes off toward Market Street, or you can turn left, go under the bridge, or you can go straight along and get back on by Twin Cities Equipment Rental. Okay, that little island there has like 1 bush on it. Okay, and that whole island there is being watered for this 1 bush, and I'm not kidding you that there is water running across the road and all the way down to the 7-Eleven that sits down there. And I think to myself, why don't you clean up your own house before you try to clean up everybody else's house? I mean, the waste from whoever's responsible for that area is unbelievable. So I'm not for this Gestapo type tactics either of going around citing people for water situations. I do believe that most people are responsible. As far as the general person, you know, in our city. But some people are asleep at the wheel and they just need to be told. But it's not our job. I mean, I don't feel like it's my job to let the city know or the county know. You know, they have people that need to police their own properties. That's my comment.
Thank you for making us aware of those locations. Anybody else from the public? Online?
No comments.
Okay. Hearing no further comment on this issue, I'm closing the public hearing and bringing the matter back to the council. Council.
I move to adopt a resolution adopting the 2020 Urban Water Management Plan and authorizing the Public Works Director, I haven't meant, to submit the plan to the California Department of Water Resources. That's B. C, adopt a resolution adopting the water shortage contingency plan and and authorizing the Public Works Director to submit the plan to the California Department of Water Resources.
Second. I have a motion by Councilperson Espandola, a second by Councilperson Kirchner. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposition? Hearing none, item 23 passes unanimously. Item number 24.
All right. So on a similar subject, emergency water restrictions to achieve 15% voluntary conservation. So you just saw this table in terms of our water sources. Here's our annual allotment on paper, 30,800 acre feet. Our projected 2021 allocation/utilization. So this isn't necessarily the total water available to us. This is what we're expecting to utilize is 15,370 acre feet. So on July 8th, Governor Newsom issued Executive Order N-10-21 expanding the state of emergency to 50 counties. And here's a couple of quotes from that executive order. There's growing concern that while many water agencies have enough water supplies to serve customers for 2021, including Yuba City, there may be a need to severely restrict water consumption in 2022 if California has another dry winter. Rather than take a wait-and-see approach, the state is recommending action to begin voluntarily reducing water consumption. Staff supports the call for voluntary conservation as the city has limited supplies available during the peak time of year in the summer and limited state water project contract carryover water to supplement the North Yuba Water District and SWP contract supplies during that time. Conserving the state water project contract carryover water to the extent practicable will extend the city's ability to use it in 2022 and beyond should the drought continue. So for information purposes, going into summer of 2021, the city has 4,900 acre-feet of carryover water available. With the projected utilization of 2,918 acre-feet in 2021, there will only be about 2,000 acre-feet available for 2022. So to the extent that we can start to conserve water now, it just helps us to conserve that carryover water, which provides us that additional insurance policy should we have another dry winter. So measures that were identified in Governor Newsom's executive order are to irrigate landscapes more efficiently, so water 1 day less per week, do not water during or immediately after rainfall, water during the cooler parts of the day, and use a weather-based irrigation controller. Run dishwashers and washing machines only when full, find and fix leaks, install water-efficient shower heads and take shorter showers, and use a shut-off nozzle on hoses and take cars to commercial car washes that use recycled water. So per the recently adopted water shortage contingency plan, a 15% voluntary conservation fits into stage 2, which is our water warning. And so the city's prohibited water uses are allowing water to run off unused into a gutter, failing to repair a controllable leak, washing sidewalks, driveways, or other paved areas, utilizing a handheld hose without an automatic shut-off nozzle, irrigating during a precipitation event. So a lot of these things align with the governor's executive order. Now this next bullet, however, under stage 2, requires that we enforce outdoor irrigation restrictions, including limiting the number of water days per week and time when irrigation can occur. So staff is recommending to not implement this particular bullet associated with stage 2, but rather go with what's in the executive order in terms of encourage people to water 1 less day per week and not get into specific, you can only water these days. Also in regard to the failing to repair a controllable leak, we are nearly done with converting the entire city to cellular water meters. If customers sign up to access their accounts online, they can view their water usage in real time, and they can also get leak alerts in real time. And so that gives them the ability to see that they have a water leak and then address it in a much quicker manner than we've had with the previous radio read meters. So for an outreach campaign, we will promote the city's rebate program for water smart toilets, shower heads, and irrigation controllers, notify customers of the voluntary conservation measures identified in the executive order and of the city's prohibited water uses, encourage customers to sign up online to access their cellular water meter account, provide additional tips to conserve water. And one of the things is that Yuba Water Agency just reached out to us to see if we want to partner with them on doing some Univision spots. They have some materials to reach the English-speaking community as part of our outreach efforts. We have materials as well, but we're going to work together to put spots on Univision, and then the city would additionally work to convert some of our materials to Punjabi so that we can try to target the majority of the sectors of our population. There's a lot of resources out there right now. The city's website is yubacity.h2o.com, where we have water conservation tips and also access to our rebate program. The bewatersmart.info, saveourwater.com, drought.ca.gov, and then drought.gov.state/California. All of these sites have information related to the drought, tips to save water, and then other measures to conserve surface water. Again, I mentioned bringing back online wells 5, 8, 9. We have proposals due, I believe, this Friday for design of a second groundwater well at the water treatment plant. And then also, as I previously mentioned, Parks. In regard to making sure we're taking care of our business first, Parks is evaluating the irrigation of parks irrigated with surface water and the roadway landscape medians, because we do recognize that we have had locations where we have water running into the road, and we do not want to set a bad example for our customers. So fiscal impact. A reduction in consumption will result in a reduction in revenues. However, The loss of revenues will be offset somewhat by a reduction in expenditures due to less pumping and chemical usage because we're treating less water. Alternatives is council could direct staff to go beyond Governor Newsom's executive order and implement a mandatory conservation target of 15% or greater. And then recommendation, as previously noted in the last presentation, in order to implement the water shortage contingency plan, council needs to adopt a resolution declaring that water supply conditions are such that they dictate and justify the need to do so. With that, I'm happy to answer questions.
Council, any questions for Ms. Langley? Okay. I will make a comment. I took a trip up to Lake Oroville on Saturday, and anyone who doesn't think that we are in a situation of water shortage would do themselves right by taking that same trip and seeing what that lake looks like in July, which is lower than I've ever seen it in probably September or October.
And they're predicting by the end of August it'll be at a level that they can no longer operate the powerhouse that's right there.
So, action from the council.
I move that we adopt the resolution declaring the water supply conditions as such that they dictate, I can't even justify the need for implementation of voluntary conservation measures to achieve 15% conservation, which aligns with the implementation of State 2 of the water shortage contingency plan without the enforcement piece that you were mentioning.
Through the mayor.
It needs to say stage 2.
Thank you. And we also an opportunity for public comment.
Thank you. Public, would you like to speak? Please.
I want to be on the record that I don't believe we need this to go over and above that of Governor Newsom's program. And I want to be on the record, too, that executive orders are not American government, okay? We did not elect any person as a king. Okay? He doesn't have that authority. We are self-governed in the United States of America. Okay? So I want to be on the record. And hey, maybe Bruce Jenner's going to replace Newsom. Yippee!
Thank you, Mr. Burns. Any other comments? How about online?
No comments.
Okay. So I do have a motion.
Yes, I continue with my motion.
Second.
Okay, have a motion by Councilperson Espandola, second by Councilperson Kirchner. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, item 24 passes. Item 25.
My last item. I've talked more tonight than I have all day.
It's been a while.
Oh, Judy, that's the wrong presentation. That's the wrong presentation. All right, so I'm happy to switch gears to talk about wastewater. And so, there we go. Yeah. That was the wrong one linked. So I'll go ahead and get started. So for background, the city's wastewater infrastructure includes approximately 8,830 lineal feet of aging Techite-produced reinforced plastic mortar pipe in 36-inch and 42-inch sizes. Thank you, Judy. So we are proposing to line our Techite pipe in 2 phases. So phase 1, the proposed project, would rehabilitate approximately 2,590 lineal feet of 42-inch pipe from the wastewater treatment facility on Burns Drive to the intersection of Garden Highway and Lincoln Road via cured-in-place pipe. And then phase 2 would replace approximately 6,240 lineal feet of 36-inch pipe from the intersection, I wouldn't say it's rehabilitate, from the intersection of Garden Highway and Lincoln to the intersection of Garden Highway and Del Monte, also via cured-in-place pipe. So this project is extremely important. I'll show you a picture of what Techite pipe looks like. So it's a fiberglass pipe, and when it's exposed to air, it's very brittle. And so having your main trunk line that goes into your wastewater treatment facility as a 42-inch Techite pipe that was installed back in the late 60s, early 70s. If you want to talk about, some of those things that cause me great concern, this is one of those things. If this were to ever fail, it would be catastrophic in terms of our ability to get wastewater to the wastewater treatment facility. And so by doing a cured in place product, it's as minimal disruption as we can to rehabilitate the pipe versus completely replace it. And it's also cost effective compared to replacing that pipe. It will require a bypass of that existing pipe, which you can imagine what that's going to look like to bypass a 42-inch pipe. It will be significant, but there are contractors that basically do this type of work all the time. And we will also have specifications that have measures in place to make sure that we don't have issues with that bypass system. So the issue with fiberglass pipe is that it was manufactured prior to American Water Works Association standards governing fiberglass pipe. It has variability and structural defects in the pipe wall because of the amount of hand labor and lack of automation during the processing. And there's also excessive deflection because of low pipe stiffness. You can see how narrow, how thin the wall of this pipe is. So the engineer's estimate is $1.8 million. We have approximately $5 million in account 1229. The projected timeline is to advertise for bids in August, award the contract in October, start construction in the fall, and complete the construction in the winter. And just to give you a visual of the location of this pipe, it starts here at the wastewater treatment facility, it Burns Drive, up Garden Highway, and then that will complete phase 1. And with that, the recommendation is to adopt a resolution adopting a CEQA Class 1 categorical exemption, and then also approve the plans and specs so that we can bid the project. That's it.
Okay. Is that bypass, is that above ground?
There will be portions that will be below ground. There could be some portions that will have elements above ground. Yeah.
Okay. Other questions? All right. Seeing none, back to the council for action.
Through the mayor,
Yes, sir.
move that we adopt a resolution adopting a CEQA Class A categorical exemption, approving the plans and specifications for the Garden Highway Trunk Line Rehab Phase 1 project and authorizing advertisement for bids on the project.
Second.
All right. Before we get too far along here, have been properly reminded to seek public comment. And I see that Mr. Burns has a question on Burns Drive.
Mark, I know you want to go home.
No, I'm good.
Okay. So, yeah, I have my office right over there. So can you tell me how that's going to affect the highway, or is this going to be all done underground? Is the pipe rehabilitated without trenching?
Correct. So what happens is at one of the upstream manholes, they'll basically block the manhole and install a pump, and then you'll have piping that's outside of the roadway, so parallel to the roadway, to get the wastewater to the wastewater treatment facility. That way there's not flow in the pipe, and then they put a liner through the pipe, expand it, and then it cures in place so that we can then put the wastewater back into the pipe. And what it does is it provides the structural integrity to that pipe, so you're no longer relying on that fiberglass.
What is it going to do to the intersections at Epley and Burns Drive?
There will be some traffic control required because they're going to be putting the liner in basically from manhole to manhole, so you will see some disruption, but they'll also be required to maintain traffic as well.
Okay, thank you.
Any other public comment? Online? No?
No comments.
Okay. I did have a motion from Councilperson Kirchner, and I think I had a second from Vice Mayor Shaw. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. And I'm assuming Mr. Kirchner voted yes, since he made the motion. All right. Apologize for missing you there on the public comment, sir. Number 26, the Public Employees Union Local 1 Memorandum of Understanding. Mr. Vaughn.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. This is the last agenda item, so appreciate your patience this evening. Tonight, you will be considering the Public Employees Union Local 1 Memorandum of Understanding. As you may recall, we entered into labor negotiations sometime in March of this year. They were one of the first units that we sat down with and went to work with. As you may recall, we had every unit open for negotiations, and we're slowly but surely closing the gap on that. So the Local 1 agreement, memorandum of understanding, some items that are included, a 3.5% salary increase with the exception of the water distribution operators 1, 2, and 3 classifications because they were considered in a different retention program, a $4,000 signing bonus, wastewater collections maintenance workers 2, 3, and 4, and water distributions 1, 2, and 3 salary schedule adjustments, extended vacation sellback period from November 21 to November of 2022, and an increase to the amount of eligible hours up to 80 hours. Park division callback and standby pay. Consistent with what we've been putting in every current collective bargaining agreement is a reopener to discuss city's financial positions in April of 2022. And then an agreement term that starts in July 1st of 2020, so it's delayed a year and it goes through July 30th of 2023. Recommendation is to adopt a resolution approving a 3-year memorandum of understanding with Public Employees Local Union 1. Authorize the finance director to transfer funds from contingency account 4215-65601 in the amount of $225,300. Approve a supplemental appropriation to the Salary and Benefits Fund 507 in the amount of $226,400. Approve a supplemental appropriation to Salary and Benefits Fund 518 in the amount of $309,500. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the council? Public comment. I remembered. Online.
No comments.
Don't let me cause you to forget to do what I don't forget to do, Judy, okay? All right. Council action, please.
Through the mayor. I move to adopt a resolution approving a 3-year memorandum of understanding with Public Employees Union Local 1, authorize the finance director to transfer funds from contingency account 4215-65601 in the amount of $225,300, and approve a supplemental appropriation to Salary and Benefits Fund 507 in the amount of $226,400, and approve a supplemental appropriation to Salary and Benefits Fund 518 in the amount of $309,500.
Second.
All right, I have a motion by the vice mayor and a second by Councilperson Espandola. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Through the mayor?
Yes, sir.
Just a point of clarification, agenda item 25, I voted in the affirmative.
We kind of assumed that since you made the motion, but thank you for clarifying that. Item 26 passed. All right. Item 27, future agenda items. Any agenda items that any of the council wants to bring forward? Anybody from the public? Anybody online?
No comments?
Okay. Reports and communications. We will start with Councilmember Kirchner tonight.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I'd like to say I wish my AC worked as well as the one in this room. It does. Wow. I would like to thank all the city employees for putting in the long hours tonight. That has not gone unnoticed, so thank you very much for that. It was really exciting to see the public participation tonight with the canine presentation. I'd like to thank the chief and our folks in law enforcement for putting that on. That was really a nice moment to experience. Also, with the Center Performing Arts Association and the Say Love recognition, I think that goes back to our quality of life and the fact that it is on one of our items of importance for this council. As far as communications, the monthly Gill Sizer meeting was canceled. Mosquito, on the other hand, we moved to final, we've got the final budget approved for fiscal year 21-22. We moved to approve the renewal of corporate membership with the Mosquito Vector Control Association of California. Also to approve the renewal of the American Mosquito Control AMCA membership. In addition to that, approved for a Cal Chamber membership for 21-22 fiscal year. At the time, 2 weeks ago, there were no positive West Nile activity. That changed last Thursday, where a couple traps, one in Meridian, and then one at the corner of Bogue and Township, had a positive for West Nile. So that is going on. Unfortunately, they did have to dismiss one of their seasonal employees who backed into a water pump in Linda on somebody's property, who happened to be one of our supervisors. So they were dismissed. Other than that, everything's looking good. I was asked to attend the Yuba City Transit meeting. They're moving to be zero emission, they're moving to have a zero emission bus fleet by 2035. Got that right? And move in the direction of having their new facility in Linda. So things are looking great with them. Another thing, I attended in the community. I attended kind of a farewell to the museum directors, our museum director, who is leaving, and I was hopeful that we had a new one lined up, but that individual decided not to take the position. And lastly, I would like to recognize that we do have city employees tonight that are in harm's way, working in areas to make sure the folks in those jurisdictions are safe, and our thoughts are with them and for the commitment they have to making our community better. And with that, back to you.
Thank you, sir. Councilmember Harris.
Yeah, very well said, Wade. It's important to remember those folks up there away from their families and doing the right thing up there for us. I have the shortest report ever. I've been on vacation 2 weeks, and thank you for attending in my absence. And that's it.
All right. Councilmember Espindola.
Agree with your statements, Councilman Kushner, as well. And I have a very short report because most of the meetings that I have will be coming up in the next couple of weeks. I attended the Regional Water Authority meeting, and there's obviously a lot of discussion on water. So Diana, I think, pretty much covered it in her presentations tonight. And the other meeting was Sutter Butte flood control, so the opposite end of a drought and the flood. That meeting got canceled. So I want to thank all those individuals that started off with us early this 6 o'clock, I think, this evening. I was going to say this morning, but we're into the 9:30, so thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll try to keep it pretty brief. The first thing I want to say is the sentiments for our first responders. We have people deployed and everything, but I want to go back to what happened earlier this evening, and the public and everyone here for our canine officers that retired. Those canine officers, the dogs themselves, are employees of the city, and they are a valuable asset, and that was one of the coolest things I've seen in 2 years up here, and seeing all the men and women in blue and fire and everything else for that. That was awesome tonight. So please, please take back the thank yous to our men and women over at PD, and thank you to Chief and his assistant Tony for putting all that stuff together. That was awesome. So, and the one other person that I want to say thank you tonight was the person that tempted us all and brought food tonight, and that was John Cassidy. People don't realize it, but that man does a lot in the community. He also does a lot for the Canine Association. He's really believed in them over the years. And so, John, if you happen to hear this, thank you so much for all you do. Yuba Center Transit, Councilman Kirchner already reported, we went ahead and moved forward with closing on the property ahead of schedule at Avondale. So the authority has secured property. Now they're moving forward with seeking funding for about $40 million to build the state-of-the-art facility. It's just impending as to when Caltrans is going to start encroaching on the current property. So that is moving forward, and there's a lot of inner workings there. RWMA met as well. The council has heard me talk about it for seems like almost a year now, but we will see it in the very near future, the new JPA that will be coming to all the municipalities, with the expectations for us to review it and approve it. And it has to do with, I'm sorry, it's late. Is it 1383, Mr. City Manager? Yes, 1383 is a big portion of this. And I know, thank you, Mr. Vaughn, and thank you, Mr. Chaffin, you guys have already been working in the backgrounds on this to make sure it's what we need as a city. So that will be coming before us probably September, as they're trying to get them all back by the end of September, early October. The other meeting that I attended was the EDC, and they are in a good, healthy position. Revenues were up with all of the funding that they did. They are doing an outreach to businesses for business retention, asking some similar questions, but not as direct as we are from the business task force. They're trying to figure out how they can further assist from the EDC as we come out of COVID, with potential funding sources and such for the employers here in town. And the city manager and myself has talked. We've been rebuilding the relationships with EDC, strengthening it, understanding how we all plug into that. And I believe you're going to be joining me going forward at the regular meetings. And that way we can just keep strengthening those relationships and moving forward. So that pretty much concludes my report. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Couple meetings that I attended, LAFCO, where we did finally approve the Newcomb annexation. Obviously, there's still one piece left of that, and that is an agreement with Gil Sizer, and Gil Sizer canceled their meeting. So, but that Newcomb annexation obviously opens up a lot of possibilities for us as a city. The other item I participated in was with the vice mayor, was interviewing members for our youth commission. And it's unfortunate we had to pull that item tonight, but we do have a very talented group of individuals within our community who applied. Unfortunately, we don't have positions for all of them, but I think you'll be very pleased with the energy level and the commitment of the ones that we're going to be recommending that you can consider. The final thing I would say is we will not have a meeting next in August, the first meeting in August. We will be participating in National Night Out and out in the community. I would echo also the comments. You could see the emotion by both of the handlers of the canines. You know, the commitment that they have. That's a family member, not only their partner. And you can tell that both of those gentlemen are extremely committed to what they do, and it's a valuable resource for the city. And I think we're quite pleased that we could provide them the opportunity to keep that family member and their coworker with them. It was pretty special. And echo also, John Cassidy never ceases to amaze me with his ability to show up and do something that's quite interesting and meaningful. And I know that was, and that came out of nowhere. We didn't plan that. So other than that, again, city staff, the folks that are out on the line, and Brian, do we have police officers out in Mutual Aid as well? I'm not aware if we do. I haven't
We did
heard.
last weekend for a couple
Okay.
days up at the Susanville incident, but our anticipation is that we'll end up in
Up in Plumas County?
Plumas County.
Yeah. So, these folks are, as it's been mentioned, I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but this is above and beyond what they normally are assigned to do. And the roles and responsibilities that they assume away from here sometimes people just don't understand or appreciate. So I think it's been great that you guys and gals have recognized that as well. Those are special missions. Anyway, with that, been a long evening, and we will adjourn. We will not meet back here till August the 17th.